People are always like, Maggie, you're a woman. How can you vote for Trump? Let me tell you why. Before 2020, I was apolitical. I did not care. I didn't pay attention to anything, just being honest. I was living my best life, doing van life, having fun. And then I moved back home to Washington during the pandemic. And do you want to know what Democrats did to me? They took away my right to teach. They took away my right to go to the gym. They took away my right to go to restaurants. They took away my right to go to movies. This is not an exaggeration. I got upwards of 1,000 death threats, maybe even more than that, from liberals. All because I didn't do that thing. I was living out in the country, minding my business, not harming anyone, being very respectful to everyone. And I was treated subhuman. Like, they dehumanized me so much. So I will be voting for the party that values personal liberty and freedom and small government. The right is far more liberal now than the left. The left has become more authoritarian. Like, they're literally installing a presidential candidate right now. They're cheering on shooting their political opponents. Like, it's a little fascist in my opinion. So Trump's not perfect, but he's a good leader. He has good policies. So yeah, Trump 2024.
Yep, that's a way to start the day, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I hope everybody's having a good morning. Got up this morning, did some math, and I got to tell you guys, 3 gallons of gas compared to 10 gallons of gas a day to run a generator is, I cannot tell you how how happy I feel. Now I've only got to turn on the big ones in the morning to make sure the freezer is frozen, and then again in the evening for 2 hours. So 2 hours and 2 hours, we'll use about 1.5 gallons on the big generator, and the small one to run for 24 hours is 3 gallons of gas. Huge, huge, huge difference. I'll be able to go like 9 to 10 days before I have to refuel again. And that is like, I can't tell you guys. I had, a couple of years ago, Jake, the guy who brings out my water, he brought me over his small, little 2,000 watt Honda, and it pretty much ran overnight without a problem. During the daytime, I couldn't pull as much out of it because of all the devices I had to plug in. So this is a huge upswing. I'm looking forward to saving saving on fuel costs. That's like I really cannot tell you how grateful I am right now. So let's we ended the day yesterday with watching the Donald Trump Elon Musk thing, and there were a bunch of comments were put up about that. But we have stuff from before that I want to cover, before we jump into that, I want to get caught up from stuff that I wanted to show yesterday that we didn't get to because of just we were running out of time and all that. I think I did show that. There's a couple of things I want to show here from let's see, I'm trying to find where we left off yesterday, and so we make sure that we are getting started right off. We're getting close. Okay, yeah. So he was the last. Okay. All right. So this is where we left off yesterday. So let's look at the Unhinged. Here we go.
I hate Elon Musk! Do you even know how much money he has donated to Trump? $10 trillion! He doesn't need that money. He's already a trillionaire. Just trillionaires supporting other trillionaires. You know how much money of that could be donated to worthwhile causes? Like the Biden-Harris campaign? He made Twitter sigh. And his dad owns Emerald Mines. I
hate. Can we say unhinged a little bit? just a little bit. I didn't know that Elon Musk was a trillionaire, and I didn't know that Donald Trump was a trillionaire. But I guess the left believes that they're trillionaires, and we're going to lose 4 to 6% of them. Absolutely, we're going to lose 4 to 6%, and there's nothing that can be done. All right. The Krasenstein brothers are paid, in their own words, to sow division. Here we go.
Or is that your job?
I have several businesses, but you know, the Resistance is a really good group of people. It's spread throughout the country, probably throughout the world. I mean, it's just kind of, it's just what I enjoy spending my time doing. And of course we get paid, you know, of course those higher ups pay us.
So you're paid for this? It's not just like something you do because for your love of country?
Yeah, I mean, people pay us. They want us to help sow the division and to take over Trump's Twitter feed. When he makes a post, they want our tweets to be up there. They don't want other people to, like, Trump supporters to be seen.
Or is that your job?
Really? So the Krasensteins are paid shills. Well, who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? Yeah. Representative Goldman says, I understand why Donald Trump is afraid to debate. And Brett Baer kind of comes back at him. Here we go.
If I'm Donald Trump, I understand why he doesn't want to debate. Kamala Harris is
he's accepted
former
3.
prosecutor.
He said yes to September 4th, September 10th, September 17th. He said yes to a lot of them. So it's not that he's obviously afraid to debate.
No. So no. He had agreed to September 10th. Well, on ABC.
With Biden, who got pushed out.
What's the difference? Why should he not debate whoever the candidate is on September 10th as he agreed to? What is the difference between candidate Biden and candidate
it's fine.
Harris?
He said he would do it. I'm just saying he's also agreed to other debates. You said he hasn't agreed to others. He has. It's the Kamala Harris campaign that hasn't agreed on the other side.
If I'm Donald Trump.
Yeah, look at the look on his face. Look at the look on his face when he realizes, oh, man, I just stepped in a big pile of my own shit. Yeah. I can't wait to see Goldman go away for good. Yep. Insane. Drew Hernandez says, Kamala Harris reveals she will be freeing all illegal aliens from detention centers in the United States if she becomes president.
Hi, my name is Sally Hartman. I'm a volunteer with the Center for Worker Justice. I want to know, when you become president, would you be committing to close the immigration detention centers?
Absolutely, on day one. On day one. And thank you for your question.
Yeah. So she just agreed to, yeah. All right. This WAPO reporter wants to censor free speech, huh? Oh.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too. But look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally as it relates to the interviews, and that's something that I'm tracking, and I'm sure the president's not tracking it either.
Yeah, because they're going to create a DDoS attack on Twitter and try and shut down the platform, and that's basically what they attempted to do. But those of you that stuck with us yesterday, you saw that Elon was determined to make sure that the interview, this is the thing, and I posted this afterwards. I don't consider what they did as an interview. I consider it a conversation. They both had questions for each other. And I thought that that was actually pretty cool. It humanized the conversation that they were having. And I like that, you know. I did. I like that. I thought it was very well done. I think that they could have covered a lot more topics. I think that, oh, hi guys. So all four of the little ones have worked their way inside. They think they're the bosses now. Yep. But yeah, they're doing good. They're all up underneath my desk. You know, it was again, you know, it was I believe it was more of a conversation than it was an interview, because like I said, they both had questions for each other. And I thought that that was cool. I would have liked to see them go into more about free energy, Tesla energy, than talking about oil. You know, but you know, I guess you can't really have those conversations unless you're ready to put something out there, you know, for actualization of those devices. So we'll have to watch and see, you know, what's going on in the future here. All right. Says preach.
Trump was a businessman. Yes, he was not a politician. Businessman. Trump is the first president in American history, and you can go Google it, that ever taxed the 10%ers. People that's making over $250,000. He's the first president to ever go into the UN and call out every country that owed a debt to America. That's a fact. You're not getting nothing else until China, give us our money. Germany. So when he affected white America, they started crying. It had nothing to do with nappy heads. If Trump had wanted to, do you realize he didn't finance and helped most of the black rappers, Puffy and all of them in New York when his businesses just wanted to be around blacks? But he never called a black out during his presidency, huh?
Thank you. Trump 2024?
Trump was a businessman.
And that's the point. That's the thing that people need to recognize. You know, what we did was we hired one of the most successful CEOs in the history of our country to go in and clean up the corporation and shut it down. And that's exactly what he did. And unfortunately, the other side kind of had a cow about it and are doing everything that they can to bring the corporation back. And unfortunately, because of what you've done, you know, it's gone, you know. All right, woman throws speaker off a ship in Greece. What's up with that? Woman grabbed the speaker and threw it up. Wasn't even hers. Yep. All right. Gateway Pundit says praying great grandma sentenced. DOJ orders peaceful, God-loving 72-year-old woman to pay $103,000 and orders half a year of house arrest for praying. For praying. Yeah. Come at me. Robbie Starbuck, the Daily Mail sent a reporter to Sturgis rally to see if my work exposing Harley Davidson for going woke was having a real effect, world impact. Their conclusion after spending time at Sturgis was that Harley's facing a full-blown rebellion. As you see here, Harley Davidson owners at Sturgis rally are outraged after CEO Jochen Zeitz implements a new slew of woke company-wide changes. Attendance is down by more than 2/3 at Sturgis. Imagine that. Yep. All right, Tom Fenton, 113 non-citizens voted in presidential election in D.C.
If aliens are registered to vote, they'll vote in substantial numbers. Here, they're registered to vote legally. In many places, you can be sure they're not able to vote legally or register to vote legally, and they're still registered to vote. Data shows that it happens. So the other big news this week, moving on from the Olympics, is the finding by Judicial Watch that 113 non-citizens voted in the D.C. presidential primary this year in 2024. So the law, this is the first election that aliens in Washington, D.C. could vote in. We already uncovered that over 500 registered to vote. Citizens, non-citizens are eligible to register to vote in supposedly only local elections like the D.C. council and mayor. And they don't ask if you're here legally or not. So it's not like these are longtime foreign national residents that are only able to vote. Green card holders, which I would find objectionable too, since they're not citizens, but at least they're here legally. They don't care. If you're illegal, you can vote. So we found over 500 registered to vote in a prior Judicial Watch FOIA. And they just told us how many voted. 113 aliens voted in the presidential primary election. And what was curious about the document was they said they voted in this presidential primary election. Well, if they voted in the federal election, it would be a crime. It ought to be a crime locally, but it ain't anymore. So something's got to happen. There's got to be an additional investigation. We had asked for the records back in July. All public records identified the number of non-citizens who voted in the June 2024 primary. We asked for details where they are, and they gave us a list, 113 people. We didn't. We have the list. Anyone can ask for the list, I guess, if they want. But we didn't put it out there because it provided us all the names and addresses of people. We're not going to put their names and addresses up on the internet. But it is a public document, so the government has the information. So it's not like it's not going to be available to anyone else who wants to get it. So I don't know, and it doesn't delineate of those 113 aliens who voted in the presidential primary who are here legally versus who are not here legally. But they're all non-citizens. Based on the updated post-primary data from the spreadsheet, the most recent material we received, we found that the turnout rate in the primary among non-U.S. citizens was 19% compared to the turnout rate among U.S. citizens of 25% or nearly 26%. So what does that show? This shows two things. It could be that they violated the law in allowing them to vote in the presidential primary, although we're not sure about that. So we're trying to get some answers there. But it also shows that if aliens are registered to vote, they'll vote in substantial numbers. Here, they're registered to vote legally. In many places, you can be sure they're not able to vote legally or register to vote legally, and they're still registered to vote. Data shows that it happens. In Ohio, it was just announced that they had to remove or are removing 500 names from the voter rolls of people that they found to be here as non-citizens. So but they were registered to vote. They're not supposed to be on the rolls. It happens. As I keep on saying, it's a numbers game. Tens of millions of people are here who are not citizens. A percentage of them are going to register to vote, and then a percentage are going to vote. It's easy. And we're supposed to pretend it doesn't happen. And the law says, well, you can't prove it happens or it happens rarely. We don't know because there's no way to check. And if they want to check, the left throws up hurdles. You know, I'm calling the Biden voter invasion these days the Biden future voter importation program. I mean, that's what it's about. They want amnesty for these individuals. And by that, that means a pathway to citizenship and voting. And as we see here in Washington, D.C., the extreme left does not believe the franchise should depend on whether you're a citizen or not. So as far as I'm concerned, 113 votes of citizens could have been canceled out as a result of these non-citizens voting. And I think that's an outrage. And I don't care if it's legal or not. I don't think it ought to be. Congress hasn't acted to stop it, even though they could. As I said in the release, the fact that 113 foreign nationals voted in the presidential primary in Washington, D.C. is a national scandal. It's our nation's capital, for heaven's sake. It's an insult to every American voter, the very notion of citizenship. And given what they told us in the documents, it may be a violation of federal law. I mean, and there are a lot of jurisdictions around here in D.C., for instance, that allow non-citizens to vote. And I think they allow it up in Vermont, too. So we're going to keep on keeping on, trying to figure out what's going on and exposing this.
All right. Yeah. I hear you, little ones. I hear you. Watch out. Don't let the big dog step on you. This is how you know they don't have anything on Donald Trump. Yep. They're so desperate to connect him to Epstein, they're making it a big... yeah, well, let's just play it.
Some new reporting from the Miami Herald we want to tell you about. They've confirmed in the last hour that former President Donald Trump's campaign flew in a blue Gulfstream jet formerly owned by sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, using it to travel to several campaign fundraisers over the weekend. According to a Trump campaign spokesperson, Trump en route on his own private plane to a campaign event in Bozeman, Montana last week, unexpectedly landing in Billings because of mechanical problems. He and part of his staff then flew on a small charter plane to Bozeman for a rally Friday night. The next day, he switched to another larger plane with a serial number that matches the plane once owned by Epstein. The plane is now owned by a private charter company. The spokesperson told the Herald this, quote, "The campaign had no awareness that the charter plane had been owned by Mr. Epstein. We heard about the former owner through the media," end quote. Some new reporting from the Miami Herald.
Yeah, MSNBC is just like grasping at everything they can. Yep. Well, Juanita Broderick says CNN is dog poop.
Musk's rise as a Trump backer comes as X has turned into a haven for the spread of misinformation. Since buying the site almost 2 years ago, Musk's site has struggled to control it on topics ranging from the election to the assassination attempt against Trump. Sometimes the bad information has been boosted by Musk himself, who posted a conspiracy regarding the attack on Paul Pelosi in October of 2022 before deleting. Musk's rise as a Trump backer comes as X.
Yeah, CNN, you and MSNBC, you're going down. There's just no way around it. Wendy Patterson says Lindsey Graham is tying Trump's hands on Ukraine funding, just like Rubio tied his hands on pulling out of NATO. They're working with Democrats against Donald Trump. And then here we go. Senator Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal visited Ukraine today, announcing their plan to introduce legislation that would solidify U.S. support and taxpayer-funded military assistance to Ukraine into law. This move would ensure the future administrations cannot easily alter or withdraw from these commitments without congressional approval. And I need to make this bigger. So let's see here. I thought I'd be able to make it bigger than that. I guess not. After our sixth visit to Kiev, we are more hopeful than ever that the tide of war has turned against Putin and his cronies. Ukraine's decision to go on the offensive in Kursk region of Russia was bold and brilliant. Bipartisan support for Ukraine is critical to American interests, and we will do whatever we can in 2024 to build on those successes and secure additional future military aid necessary to maintain the momentum. We urge NATO to issue an invitation this year to Ukraine for membership, making real what has been described as inevitable. President Zelensky was excited about and was committed to obtaining strategic agreement with the U.S. regarding the more than $1 trillion worth of rare earth minerals owned by Ukraine, and expressed a commitment to create a working group with the U.S. to make this happen. Expanding economic cooperation with Ukraine makes America stronger. Bullshit. This guy is so full of crap. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Makes America stronger and accelerates Ukraine's economic recovery. Well, I'm going to pause there for a minute because I want to talk about this. They have $1 trillion worth of rare earth minerals. They can pay for their own shit. They got $1 trillion. Buy your own shit. America's done fucking supporting you. And I think that everybody should not pay taxes until we stop giving money away. All right, moving on. Ukraine is blessed with significant lithium, titanium, and other rare earth minerals that are needed by the American economy. So the coup that you guys did in 2014 led you to find out the resources that this country really had. And so you're taking our money and putting it into Ukraine in order to gather those materials and resources to bring back here to the United States for your profitability. Yeah. An agreement with Ukraine in this area would make the U.S. less dependent on foreign adversaries for rare earth minerals. Well, the question is if we're having to get them from Ukraine, then we're still having to, yeah, you know where I'm going with this. All right. In addition, we will introduce the Stand with Ukraine Act led by Senator Blumenthal when the Senate convenes in September. This bipartisan piece of legislation will codify the bilateral security agreement reached by the Biden administration and Zelensky's government this past July. We believe this will send an important signal to the world and show that the United States continues to stand with Ukraine. After listening to President Zelensky, we urge the Biden administration to lift restrictions on weapons provided by the U.S. so that they can strike the Russian invaders more effectively. What are you talking about? They're invading sections of Russia right now. Yeah. Additionally, President Zelensky told us both that he would be looking to supplement his Air Force by establishing a program to enlist retired NATO F-16 fighter pilots. We support this effort. Ukraine is already fielding units of freedom fighters on the ground, and this volunteer force should be replicated in the air. Now is the time to form a strategic partnership with Ukraine that can have tremendous economic benefits to the United States and lead to the stability in Europe. You mean to benefit your economic benefit, not the American people. So let's get that straight right off the bat. Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal are traitors. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. Ukraine has demonstrated it has a genuine desire to join the democratic family of nations. We must not abandon them in their hour of need. We should accelerate the gains that have been achieved through dogged determination and courage. Yeah, I can't wait to see you both hang for treason. I can't. You're committing treason. You're committing treason. Yeah. Motorcycle mugger gets shot after trying to man in Guarulhos, Brazil. A 16-year-old is dead after he found out while trying to rob Otavio Ribeiro, who was leaving work when the incident unfolded. Ribeiro strategically gave up his phone to the thugs before he pulled his firearm. the teen was rushed to the hospital where he passed. Ribeiro went home out of fear for his safety. Police gave him a visit and took him to the police station before releasing him. Yeah. So this is the kind of stuff happening on the streets in Brazil. There you go. And he actually didn't pull a gun. He took his. He took his own gun. He took his gun. He didn't pull out one. Yeah. Should have got the driver too. Yeah, should have got the driver too. But yeah. Yep. All right. Screepier says the Feds set up January 6th.
Will we go undercover as Antifa in a crowd? So, can you put that back in? Will we go undercover as Antifa in a crowd? Antifa.
Yep. People get so stupid. You know, you got all these phones everywhere. You got all these recording devices everywhere. People are going to see it. You know, just they're going to see it. Yeah. Wow. Gavin Newsom's California Finance Department is opposing the California bill that would make buying children for sex a felony. What?
This proposal to ramp up the penalties for child sex buyers is known as SB 1414, and it is still working its way through the state's lawmaking process, but not without some debate. So today, the Assembly's powerful Appropriations Committee held a brief hearing on the bill before placing the proposal on what's known as the suspense file. This is basically a list of bills that are expected to cost the state a significant amount of money. And next week, lawmakers will decide if the bills on that list pass or die without public discussion. But in today's discussion, Governor Newsom's Department of Finance said right off the bat, the intentions of this bill are good, but strictly for money reasons, it's against SB 1414 because it will cost the state a lot and increase California's prison population. The governor himself, though, has said he supports this bill. The author of the proposal, State Senator Shannon Grove, said people who buy children for sex need to be behind bars.
That was an absurd argument. To say that it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to lock these individuals up that buy children for sex, and it would roll back their prison an exodus that they've been letting people out of prison is ridiculous. If you look at traumatized youth that have been bought and sold for sex, it costs the state upwards of $300,000 just for basic services. If you take a 13-year-old that you'd have to take care of till they're 18, and then not even that, but the trauma that that person as an adult would experience all their life, lower income jobs, those kinds of things that traumatically affect these kids. It's ridiculous.
Now, another issue that has divided lawmakers over this bill, how it affects 16 and 17-year-olds. For now, the bill as written gives district attorneys the ability to charge someone who buys these older teens for sex as either a misdemeanor or a felony. Grove is fighting to get this changed to have it be a felony no matter what across the board. She's asking the Appropriations Committee to make that change. We'll see how that shakes out when the committee makes its final decision on the bill next week.
All right. No, your comments are not being hidden from YouTube. I just don't stop and say hi to every single person who comes in, because if I did, we would spend 3 hours saying hi to over 400 people. So I keep going with the information that I have. I don't really pay much attention to chat unless it's a longer video that I have the opportunity to scroll back through chat. But hi. Don't take it personal. I just I got a lot of things going on and trying to take care of all of it while doing this. So here we go.
I'm a retired command sergeant major. Retired command sergeant major in the Guard. And they said, this is Congressman Walz. He's a retired sergeant major in the Army. Retired command sergeant major. Retired sergeant major in the Army. Retired sergeant major. I'm a retired command sergeant.
Yep. Blatantly inflating his rank. Yep. This is a picture of Trump on with Elon. And by the way, the compression for the microphones for okay, so when audio goes into Spaces, okay, it goes through a filtering process and a compression process. All right, so that lisp that you thought you heard was not actually that at all, because believe me, if you were sitting on the at the table with Donald Trump, you would not have heard that. And I'm going to show some video clips of him talking to his phone, where at the same time, if you were to go into the recording or the if you were to go into the just feed the baby, okay? Yeah, just feed the baby. She just wants a little bit. Just wants a little bit. That's all you got to do. Give up a little bit. It's okay. Yeah. But you'll notice that in the after the compression happened to the audio, it was there. And that's why periodically we would hear like a hiccup coming from Elon as well. That's audio technical things. It's got absolutely nothing to do with anybody having any type of lisp or anything like that. If anything, I've got more of a lisp than Donald Trump has. All right, knock it off. All right, George says, update in absolute travesty of justice. The jury in the rigged trial of Tina Peters has found her guilty on most major charges brought against her for simply preserving the records on the Dominion voting machines after the 2020 election. The judge refused nearly all of her witnesses and excluded virtually all of her defenses. Law professor David Clement says, count 1, guilty, attempt to influence public servant. Count 2, attempt to influence public servants. David Underwood, Jesse Romero, not guilty. On number 3, conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation as relates to count 4. Count 4, attempt to influence a public servant. Count 5, not guilty, criminal impersonation. Count 6, conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation. Count 7, not guilty, identity theft. Count 8, official misconduct. Count 9, violation of a duty. Count 10, guilty, failure to comply with SOS requirements. These guys are shit, absolutely shit. And should this judge needs to go to prison. Yeah. All right, here's a funny for you. Woman swims with a dolphin and quickly finds out. Maybe that's how mermaids are made. I think that's how mermaids are made. Yeah, it's got to be. That can be the only explanation. All right, let's blow a mind here.
Hey, I think she wants to play with you.
She wants to play Vivaldi? You sure? It's very difficult. You can do it? Okay, let's try.
A few moments later.
Ready?
Just incredible. Yeah. Kids will surprise you if you just give them the chance. You know. Yep. Shipwreck says Kamala is mad. So this came out from the Harris Walls campaign. Right now, Elon Musk is interviewing Donald Trump live on Twitter. We're not calling it X. It's not enough that Musk has pledged to donate millions of dollars to help reelect Trump. He's using his purchased platform, one of the largest social media sites in the world, to spread Trump's unhinged and hateful agenda to millions of users. If that's all you need to hear, chip in $25 now to help Kamala and Tim have the resources to respond to their lies. Otherwise, let us remind you why this is a big deal. The richest person in the world is a lackey for Team MAGA. Musk already ruined Twitter by allowing hate speech and disinformation to flood the platform. Now Musk is using his vast fortune and broad reach to try and control our democracy. Well, Kamala, I don't know about you, but I live in a republic, and it's just the way it is. Yeah. All right. So Carly Bonet says, "Hey, dumbass Kamala, the cyber attack was on your watch. It's not funny. It just shows how pathetic and weak you and Potato are." Yeah.
All right, we have some breaking news. Earlier tonight, President Trump was doing an interview on X with Elon Musk. As the interview was beginning, Elon Musk did X out, meaning put up a post saying that a DDoS attack happened to his website. This is on the heels of President Trump's campaign website being attacked, they believe, by an outside entity, likely another country, maybe Iran, maybe China, maybe Russia. They have the top cybersecurity people in the country that have put that website together. But, well, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris, she thinks it's funny. Kamala, if in fact these attacks are happening against our country and our cybersecurity is not safe, that's on your watch. There's nothing funny about it. Another day, by the way, another batch of crimes purportedly committed by Harris, Biden, unvetted illegals. All right, we have some breaking news earlier tonight.
Yep. It's all being shown. You know, it's basically the easiest way to put it. It's all being shown. Bit by bit by bit, step by step that they're taking and making, we're seeing clearer than we'd seen it before. So there's my my post about this. Great conversation. I will not call it a so-called interview because they both had questions for each other, and I think that they could have expanded the topic somewhat. But all in all, it was a great interview. And this was an awesome picture. Thank you, Auntie Wells, for snapping that. And I know a couple other people got some as well. I got them in my email. I haven't put them. I haven't downloaded them yet. But you see this right here? You see this? I'm sitting right in between the two. So it was when Elon turned on his microphone that I got moved off to the side. Yeah. But I got to sit next to Donald Trump for a little while. It was cool. Oh, it was actually, it doesn't matter who you were. If you were tuned in on it, you are shown as being up there. So I wasn't special or anything like that. But for a minute, I thought I was. Just for a minute. All right. Let's see what Elon's got to say here. Here we go.
You know, I think like one of the tests for, assessing someone's character is to look at the character of their friends and their associates.
Yep.
And while people can put up a mask themselves for their character, their friends and associates will not.
Yep.
And so you can judge a person's character by their friends and associates, and to some degree by their enemies.
Right.
You know, if evil people hate you, well, you might be doing something right.
If evil people hate you,
you know, I think like one of the tests.
You're doing something right. Yep. All right. Steve 2A says Comer makes idiot Democrat look like a fool. Not that hard to do, as we see on a daily basis here. Here we go.
Chairman mentioned something. Actually, he said that the Biden administration can't have it both ways. And I agree with that, Mr. Chairman, which is why I'm happy to yield you some of my time today, Mr. Chairman, because I think you owe it to the American people to explain why you've gone on Fox News and told people that while the president was out of office, he had a loan with his brother, and in a way they were evading taxes. It has come out in the public that you also do business with your brother with potential loans. And so since you have framed that and manipulated that with the American people, that Joe Biden did something wrong when he wasn't in office, I just would like to know if you would like to use some of my time.
I would love it.
Okay.
You retweeted that story. Completely false. I've never loaned my brother one penny. My father, who was a dentist, had some farmland. He died, and my brother couldn't afford. He wanted to sell it, but he wanted to keep it in the family. So I bought it from my brother. That story that you tweeted also said I had a shell company. That is bullshit. You can come to Monroe County and look at all the land that is titled in that LLC. I think that the problem is, the White House tried to get CNN to write that story. They went around and investigated all this bullshit that Ian Sams is trying to tell people that only dumb, financially illiterate people pick up on, and said that it was a shell company because it was an LLC. You're so financially illiterate that you think because something says LLC, it's a shell company. This company, which I financially disclose, has properties. Okay. It manages over 1,000 acres of land for hunting purposes. It owns different properties. I'm one of the largest landowners in my home area. Okay. I went to the bank and I borrowed money and I bought that land. I didn't get wires from Romania, China. My family doesn't get wires. Okay. Never loaned my brother money. Don't have an LLC. But you and Goldman, who is Mr. Trust Fund, continue to try
reclaiming my time.
No, I'm not going to give you your time back. We can stop the clock. you all continue to, you look like a Smurf here, just going around and all this stuff. Now, listen,
Mr. Chairman, you
No, no,
have.
I'm gonna
you-
tell you
no, no,
something.
hold on. If we're not on
continue to
time, we
spew
can.
disinformation.
You have
You
gone on
discount-
TV and
you
said the
discount-
president did something
you
illegal.
discount
You're doing stuff
an
with your brother. The
investigation
American
of
people have the
public
same questions. Why
corruption
should
that
they
this
believe
committee is
you?
doing.
Why
You're
should they
welcome to
believe you?
investigate
Why should they
anything
believe you?
you
There's
wanna
a
do.
different rule for the
You
president.
can
There's a different rule for you.
investigate
Why should
anything
they believe
you
what
want.
you're saying, Mr. Chairman? Why? You go on Fox News and say loans
You
and
go on
deals
Fox
are a way to
News
evade taxes. We don't know that's what you're doing or not. We don't know. We have no idea. We're supposed to take your word for it. But when the
Well,
president
you've
says
already
something,
been
he's not
proven a
telling the
liar,
truth.
Mr. Moskowitz.
What's that?
You've already been proven a liar. today.
Who's proven me a liar? You?
Yes.
Your word
Well,
means nothing, Mr. Chairman.
go to my hometown. There's a camera crew there today, an opposition research crew there today. trying to
Mr.
do
Chairman,
it.
this seems to
You're
have
more
gotten
than
under your.
welcome.
This seems to have gotten under your skin.
I'll pay for your ticket.
I think the American people have lots of questions, Mr. Chairman, and perhaps you should sit maybe for a deposition.
I
and
would.
we can
I
ask
will
those
be
questions.
happy. I will sit with Hunter Biden and Jim Biden, and we can go over our LLC.
That'll be great. I'll make sure the ranking
Let's
member
do that.
is happy
Let's do
that
that.
you'll
We'll
sit
be
at,
transparent.
sit at a table.
Mr.
All right.
Chairman, I make a point of order that we should return to regular order for the benefit of the other
The
members.
ranking
who
member
are-
makes a good point.
I'll reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman. I'll wrap it up quickly. All I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, is you may have done nothing wrong. No,
but you tweeted
but
that
I'll-
I
I'm-
did.
Okay, so what you're getting right here, if you pay attention to what is actually being discussed between Moskowitz in the blue Smurf suit and Comer there, who is the Oversight Committee chairman, is this is a lesson in how Democrats collude with the mainstream media in order to push a fake news narrative. Okay, so let's break it down. So now what we have is Moskowitz trying to conflate some business deal that Comer had within his family to what Hunter Biden was doing while Joe Biden was vice president, with the currying of favor with foreign entities that was going on while Joe Biden was vice president between Hunter Biden and these other these other nations across the world. And obviously this is false. Obviously Comer explains in the video exactly what's going on here. But if you looked at what's going on, Comer said, you tried to peddle this story to CNN, you tried to peddle this story to the Post, et cetera, et cetera. So what the left does is they'll have this little nugget, and what they want to do is they would like to give this to the mainstream media in order to blow it up to project the narrative. Now, fake news CNN is trying to be less fake news in this era because they have realized that they have lost the trust of virtually most Americans. So they're not going to run with something that obviously false, which is something that they would have done even 2-3 years ago, by the way. So that is just an example of how Democrats and the left collude with mainstream media in order to push false narratives that protect them.
I like seeing them argue like that. But here's 10 seconds of Donald Trump speaking.
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him, both sides.
Yeah.
That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
See, there's no list there. It's just a
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him, both sides.
Yeah.
That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
and he stooped over, bent over a phone. You know, if I'm down like that too, I begin to sound like that when my head is pointed almost straight down to talk into a phone. Yeah, absolutely. Dog got a new car. Get them ears.
Yeah, a video.
Yeah. Yeah. We can Photoshop too, says Texas. Yeah, we can Photoshop too. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
I'm about to speed run the entire last year of investigations right now. So BlackRock controls everything, right? Wrong, but we'll start there. Because if you go to the grocery store and try to buy something like shampoo or deodorant or baby food, turns out that basically every option is owned by mega corporations that are all owned by the same people. Top shareholders of all of these corporations are Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, the big three. Doesn't matter how many different companies you look at in all of the different parts of our lives, top shareholders of every single one of these little stock sheets is Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. And sure, they're managing our money, like your retirement account, but what they're doing is they control the voting power on all those shares. I don't know if you can read this, but like index funds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, all the things that Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street use to get your money in their pockets, which is still yours, clearly. They control the voting rights. And so what that means is when you look at the board of directors of all these different companies, of every company in the market, their boards of directors were selected by the same three biggest shareholders, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. That board of directors determines who runs the company, determines how the company operates, determines whether to put poison in the food or food in the food, determines whether to tell you that there's asbestos in the baby powder or to cover it up for 30 years. And so all the different mega corporations that make all the things we use in our daily lives are all owned by the same big three financial institutions, along with their buddies, the big banks. But then when you look at all the big banks and financial institutions, you know who owns them? Each other. They all own each other. And what that means is there is a ruling class of bankers, of old banking families, of big money that collectively owns the financial institution blob. And they're controlling all of the mega corporations through the boards of directors who select the CEOs, et cetera, down the line. And those bankers and corporations have developed some pretty wild tricks in order to shuffle their money around, exert this control, buy off the government. In case you hadn't realized yet, I'm in Idaho right now, and I'm speed running a talk that I'm about to give tonight and tomorrow night at the Old State Saloon. We are about to break it all down for like 4 total hours plus some Q&A at the Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho. More on that at the end. So these bankers, these rich people, their families, a lot of that money is deeply tied into the black market systems of arms trades, drug trafficking, other kinds of trafficking. They launder all that money through things like art sales. The music industry is a big one that people don't talk about. Hollywood is full of money laundering because everybody needs a bank, including the criminal. So all that we're going to cover tonight in a 2-hour-long live talk. It's going to be streaming on the internet through Old State Saloon social media. That's essentially a speed run of my first 6 months of investigations into this whole thing. And we're going to go pretty deep. I am stoked. But tomorrow night, we're going to go deep on what the intelligence world is all about. What are spies really? See, they told you that these are spies, but actually these are more like what spies really look like. Because when you look at the history of who founded all this stuff, the kinds of people they were aligned with, the things they were doing, the types of backgrounds they had, the actions they took once they'd established these intelligence agencies, you realize that because the point of intelligence agencies is plausible deniability, most of the assets that intelligence agencies are working with are not actually card-carrying members of those intelligence agencies. And when you start to break down some known intelligence networks of the modern day, you start to realize just how powerful it is when you're leveraging outside assets like businessmen, like private citizens, private companies, because it hides what's really going on. See, we already had a military that was super strong. We didn't need a spy agency if all we wanted to do was exert force around the world. But when you want to do covert operations, secret programs that don't trace back to whichever government is behind them, you want private citizens that run their own businesses doing that work for you. You want people that can walk in the gray areas in various industries, people with a lot of power and money and influence, but who also can be controlled either through loyalty or through blackmail or through whatever. So yeah, you can see why I'm so hyped. We're going to break everything down. There will be no filter. We're not on YouTube. We're being hosted by the most based saloon you could possibly find. And we're going to do it all from an evidence-based, like intelligent, discerning point of view. Not just like wild conspiracy theories with nothing to back it up, but like complex thinking about like, what do we see happening in the world? What do we know about history? What does that imply about what's going on today? And what does that mean going forwards? Like, how do we fix this problem? If you're in the Boise, Idaho area, come hang out. We still got some tickets for tonight and for tomorrow night. It's going to be sweet. Would love to meet you all. And if you're not in the Boise, Idaho area, it's going to be live streaming on just about every platform through Old State Saloon social medias. And if you're on TikTok, I think I'm going to try to stream it through my TikTok account somehow. Fingers crossed. But yeah, you heard Cat Williams. 2024 is the year that all lies will be exposed. So let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Exactly. All right, moving on. All right, you'll never guess what happens at the end. Some of you will. Well, here we go. You ready for a laugh?
YouTube. Hello, my friend. Candela. You look so beautiful. Happy, man. Oh. What's your name? Yeah. Oh, what's a beautiful name? Yeah. I'm talking with Jane. She'll
Listen
be my
close.
friend very soon.
Listen
You know what I'm
close.
saying? Jane, no? Okay, what's up?
It's a dude. He just used his voice. They thought this was a chick and they wanted to be friends. Boy, that would have been a surprise if you had taken him home. Yeah. All right. Emmy says, do you agree? President Trump is trying his best to give this country back to the people, and half of the country is too stupid to appreciate it. I have to agree with that. All right. This is hilarious, and I just had to share this with you guys. Hope this email finds you well. Sometimes you just gotta. All right, this is worth your time, 64 seconds, and it's worth it. Here we go. And I want you to really think about what he's saying. All right, listen, here we go.
I have a question for you this morning, and it's not going to be an easy one. So I need you to take your time and really think about it. But what if you had 5 minutes to live and you knew it? Who would be the one individual that you would want to spend those last 5 minutes with, and why? If they're still here, I want you to send that individual this video or tag them below. And it doesn't matter if you haven't talked to them in days, years, or months. But if you know that individual and they're still here, I want you to reach out to them today and let them know they're one of the most important individuals in your life. And your life is better with them in it. I love you guys.
Yeah. You got 5 minutes left to live. Who would you want to spend it with? All right.
Wow. You know, I never really considered that until your book. Until I heard the title of your book and I read the synopsis of it. I never really considered it. I never considered that thinking about your problems all the time and talking about your problems all the time literally make the problems grow.
That's right. I mean, it's the number one symptom of depression is what they call rumination, this pathological obsessing over your pain.
Yeah.
That's why stuff like exercise, that's one of the reasons, aside from chemical reasons, one of the reasons that doing anything, you know, that running errands is good for your mental health, getting out of your house and accomplishing anything is good for you. But sitting around talking and thinking about your problems, that's a bad habit. And the best cognitive behavioral therapists and others, you know, the dialectical behavioral therapists, the ones who do really well with depression, the first thing they do is try to break that that bad pattern. But a lot of therapists just indulge it.
Yep. Sitting around thinking about your problems doesn't make them go away. Not one bit. All right, this is one smart lady. Here we go.
You could see Black people come together and raise all of these funding for Kamala Harris, and the only policy she got right now is reproductive rights, women's rights. But we were born with the right to reproduce. Like, how do you have to have permission to reproduce? What they're fighting for is permission to stop the reproduction of what they produce. And let's also mention that this is a Democrat platform, okay? This is what the Democrat Party represents. And with us knowing that, why are we supporting an agenda that we know leads to that, right? Why are we supporting things that are telling our sons and our daughters to give themselves over to a lifestyle with such a high rate of death for Black Americans? Why are we being liberated by the thought of abortion? We mad at white people for killing us, but we the first in line to go kill a Black life that we created. Like, this is never going to end because we don't value the lives that we create. So if I'm the mother and you're the father and we created the life and we don't see value in the life and we'll go dump the baby, abort the baby at an abortion mill, why should anybody else value life if we don't value it? How you gonna tell a white person, oh, I hate you, you a white supremacist, but you just left the abortion clinic aborting your own Black baby? Abort Black life? You can't abort Black life and then tell them not to kill Black life. How does that work? Why does Black lives matter until a Black woman gets pregnant? Because Black life begins in the womb. The minute a Black woman gets pregnant, then Black life don't matter no more. Okay.
And I don't know if I say this, it sounds insensitive, but I call it the 2-for-1 special. When a brother kills another brother.
Yes.
Because what's going to happen is this: one brother's gone, there's a higher probability that that other person to get locked up or that other person will get killed. It's like we don't quantify the impact that the loss of life, especially in a violent way, has on us as a family, spiritually and psychologically, you know?
And then you got one in the grave, you've got one in the jail cell, and you got fatherless children left on both sides. So it definitely is, that 2-for-1 special. And anytime we see, a bunch of white people wanting to support something, you could see Black people come together and raise all of these funding for Kamala Harris, and the only policy she got right now is reproductive rights, women's rights. But we were born with the right to reproduce. Like, how do you have to have permission to reproduce? What they're fighting for is permission to stop the reproduction of what they produce. They say they're fighting for women's rights, but you have to be born in order to become a woman, right? I can't support the type of women's rights that execute the women of tomorrow. But not only that, educating myself to know that 80% of abortion clinics are strategically placed in Black communities for a reason. All of this is strategic.
80%?
80% of all abortion clinics, all Planned Parenthood clinics are in Black communities. We get abortion clinics, they get fertility clinics.
Interesting. Yeah. The things that we do to our own selves are just outrageous. I want to. Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was, dogs can, let me tell you, the characteristics of every dog and what they do is just crazy. The heck was that all about? Why you scare that baby like that? That's not nice. All right. Canadian digital ID situation. Here we go.
So this is a bit of an emergency broadcast regarding the digital IDs. Yesterday in Canada, Justin Trudeau met with all of our provincial premiers and basically told them that we will not be able to get funding for our healthcare unless the premiers agree to the digital IDs. I will show all the proof. Now, those of you who think that digital IDs are great, they are not. Let me show you what these digital IDs will actually entail when it comes to control. Here's an overview basically of everything that will be included in the digital IDs. This can be found on the WEF website and also on all of the provincial and government websites. You will have healthcare. You will not be able to access any healthcare without this digital ID. Financial system. You will actually not even be able to carry out bank accounts or carry out anything online regarding financial transactions. Food and sustainability. This says for farmers and consumers, you will not be able to get into stores. You will not be able to even sell anywhere. Once they have this system in place, this is where the digital currency will come in. Travel and mobility. We saw that with the Arrive scam app. Humanitarian responses, which is basically just garbage. It's in case something happens, they will be able to track and find you, including if you don't want anything injected in your body. E-commerce. You will not be able to shop online. Then you have social media platforms. You will literally need this ID in order to get TikTok, Twitter, or Facebook. No more fake accounts. You have e-government. So if you want your taxes done, any sort of benefits from there, you will need this. Then it gets even scarier. Telecommunications. You will not be able to actually get an internet provider without this digital ID, and they will be able to track you. And then up there, you have smart cities, and we all know what those are. Those of you who think I'm lying, here's the federal condition. In order for us to access our money, our tax money, this is basically a hostage situation of our tax money. And what you will see is instigators, government instigators under Twitter, under Justin Trudeau, that basically say we need to push our provincial governments to, get the money so that we can spend it better. No, we don't. We actually need to call our provincial governments right now, today and tomorrow, and every single day until they scrap this digital ID. They cannot pass this without our approval. So I need everybody in Canada to call your provincial governments and literally tell them that this is not going to happen. If we need to privatize, if we need to somehow get into a different system of healthcare, we need to do that. As for everyone in the United States, you're kind of lucky because your healthcare is privatized. There's also a lot more internet providers, some that will not go along with it because of capitalism. So your money is actually speaking a lot louder in the United States. But Canada, this is coming down the pipeline, and it's coming down the pipeline fast, and we need to act.
Oh, Canada. Yeah. All right. Did you know that officers testified to the Minnesota State Senate that Tim Walz gave the order as governor to let rioters burn down the police precinct?
Police officers testified at the Minnesota Senate today. The officers are all board members for the Minneapolis Police Federation. And as Esme Murphy reports, they offered up a scathing critique of government and police leaders during the riots following George Floyd's death.
That's not what we stand for.
Her voice shaking, Minneapolis Police Sergeant Anna Hedberg says during the riots, officers were abandoned by state, city, and department leaders.
To watch them go through that was so heartbreaking. To know that they could have died because we were not allowed to respond the way that we have been trained to respond.
During the riots, the officers were told they could not wear protective frog suits, but were still hit and injured with bottles, cement, and more. Sergeant Hedberg blames state, city, and department leaders for the abandonment of the 3rd Precinct.
I heard the governor say, give it up. It wasn't directly to me, it was through a phone call. How the governor says, give up the precinct. I mean, that's demoralizing for this whole state.
And the 3 described a demoralized police force with dozens of officers planning to retire or quit.
I believe I speak for every Minneapolis cop when I tell you that I've never been more publicly humiliated.
They also described a city out of control.
The crime is rampant in Minneapolis right now.
Yep. Yeah. The extent of that is crazy. All right, here's a reaction to Elon and Donald Trump's conversation last night.
Well,
Back
that
in
was
Gorka.
something else. The biggest Twitter space, X space in history. President Trump interviewed by Elon Musk on his account for nigh on 3 hours. Initial reactions. First things first. So glad. This is what I told Lara Trump on my Newsmax show just yesterday, that when President Trump said at the convention that he's only going to tell the story of Butler once because it was too painful and never again. No, he needs to tell that story at every opportunity, not just because it humanizes him, but the fact is the left is trying to deep six to delete the fact that President Trump was shot in the head a month ago. You saw what Google did to make sure you couldn't search that topic. Well, God bless Elon Musk for making that his very, very first question. And, well, let's just cut to the chase. He invited Elon Musk to work in the next Trump administration. I just posted a photograph of me and Elon in the White House during the first Trump administration. God willing, it's up to us that there will be a second one. But what a perfect choice. A man who could come in, revitalize innovation, manufacturing in America, and be the spearhead for projects like the moonshot, but this time it's Mars. So a man who is truly preternatural in his business skills has been invited by President Trump. Why? Because he gets it. What did he say? President Trump said, "You are the American dream." And he is. He's a legal immigrant to the United States who is now the richest man in the world because he's driven and he wants to build. He wants to provide jobs for Americans. And whether it's Tesla, whether it's the space program, this is a man who personifies the American dream. On top of that, the sheer reality. Can we just be honest here? There's no politician. President Trump said Kamala couldn't do this, Biden couldn't do this. Well, of course, there is no politician who would do this or could do this. Unscripted, no talking points, no bumpers on either edge of what you're allowed to talk about. Just natural. The New Yorker came out in him. The stories from Elon about his mother's friends being attacked in New York, oh my. But the fact that President Trump could do this speaks to who he is. Despite having been the president, he's still not a politician. And that's why Americans love him, because of that authenticity. And then that final comment from Elon that this is a fork in the road of destiny. Voting for President Trump is the future of our civilization. And his unremitting, wholehearted endorsement for my former boss. Truly amazing. I will unpack so much more tomorrow on America First, my national radio show, 3 to 6 Eastern, streaming on Rumble as well. Make sure you're following me on all social media accounts. Wow, President Trump is back. It's great. Stay frosty, my friends, and MAGA.
Yeah. Stay frosty. Yeah, eyewitness claims police reported a second shooter on the loose. Yeah, how about that?
So you began this conversation saying something about a second shooter.
Yeah, because when we were first ducking behind the, when they moved us all from the back of the AGR building and Homeland Security and the other guy with the long gun moved us over to the township police car to take cover there. The door was open and we could hear the radio communications, and they said shooter dead on the roof, and then they said we breached the building, there's blood in the bathroom, second shooter on the loose. So because like if the guy climbed the building and shot from there, like how was there blood found inside of a bathroom inside that building? So there had to have been a second shooter, right, that got shot or something.
So you began this conversation saying something about a...
Yeah. There was more than one. We know that. Yep. I can only play the beginning of this. I can't play the whole thing because he's got music in it, but we'll play the beginning of it.
What time is it? It's Bible tea time. In the Beginning. Okay, let's pause right there and look at this in Hebrew. The Hebrew word for beginning is this word right here, bereshit. And remember, they read from right to left. So we will break down every letter together. So from right to left, this is the letter Beit, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yod, and Tav, which spells bereshit, which means beginning. The letter Beit, or B, means tent, and the letter Resh, or R, means the chief, the head chief. Together, BR is read as bar, and together it means son. The letter Aleph is kind of like a vowel, and it means Adonai, so we'll do a heart for God. The letter Shin means to destroy, so it's kind of like, looks like a claw, so that's how I remember it. This character means hand, the letter Yod. And this last character is Tav, which is T, and it means cross or covenant. To summarize, Beit, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yod, Tav spelled Bereshit, which means the beginning, and it's already forming a sentence. The Son of God destroyed by his own hand on the cross. But we're not done yet. Earlier, we discussed how Beit and Resh together is pronounced bar, which means son. So there are words within this word. Another one is Shin, Yod, and Tav. Together, it is read say it, but the English word is thorns. And if you want to look it up, the concordance number is H7898. Next, we have Resh, Aleph, and Shin, which is read as Rosh. And in English, it means head. So just to prove it, we've got Resh, Aleph, and Shin right there. The next word we're going to discuss is Berosh, which is spelled with a B, R, and Shin. So it's this except for Aleph. So this means tree, cypress tree, actually. These two together, the Shin and Yod, means gift. And again, Tav means cross or covenant. Okay, let's try to put this together. The Son of God destroyed by his own hand on the cross with thorns on his head, hung up on a tree as a gift of the covenant. Wait, so Jesus was in the beginning? Yes. In John 1:1, what does it say? In the beginning was the Word. And who was the Word? The Word was God. The Word was with God. So since the very beginning, Jesus had always been there.
That's as much of it as I can play. And then the rest of it's got music in it. But I will drop the link for this in this chat. And if I can get somebody to drop it over on the Facebook side, and those of you on the YouTube side, or I'm sorry, on the X side, if you're not actually following me on X, I'll drop it into the chat over there for you. Share it. Share that. That's I think that's a good way to get some people thinking. Get some people thinking. You're thinking. Let's see. Do we have things we want to add? Yeah, we'll have more stuff to do as soon as we finish going through. So we got some other stuff that's coming out. All right. This is In God We Trust, October 26th, the National Mall at 4 p.m., Washington, D.C. This was put out by Sean Pooch. Let's take a listen.
What was he? That's the question. Jesus Christ, who are you? Who is Jesus? We can't escape him. We try to run from him, but there he is. He keeps popping up everywhere. Our greatest philosophers write about it. Our greatest historians write about it. I'm doing it for the joy that is set before me, because he saw that he would be raised from the dead. He saw that there would be a gathering in the generations to come of a people for his name that would make up his body. He saw the day when we will reign with him in his kingdom.
He saw it. He saw it. And he told us. Yep.
Just
can't believe that in the end, when it really gets intense, as it is now, that it's Christians, it's people who actually believe the Bible, are the only ones with wisdom who understand what's really going on. They're not shocked at all. And they're not panicked either. They get it. It's so interesting. That itself is a biblical principle. The last shall be first. The most, the humble among you will be exalted. It's like, everything's the opposite of what you thought it was. Victory is defeat. Christianity is defeat. Being tortured to death is actually victory. It's like, it's just, but once you start, even if you're not a Christian, which I think you should be, because it's true, but even if you're not, you can acknowledge, just having lived here for a while, that is absolutely the way things work.
Now that I can kind of see through this shit and realize, okay, none of this makes sense, and it actually makes sense that none of this makes sense because it's all been written. It's in the book.
I know.
It's in the book, and it's playing out right now. Honestly, it's the only thing that brings me any hope, because I don't think we're getting out of this shit.
No, of course not. I mean, that shouldn't be surprising either.
Yeah. Those who believe are the ones with wisdom, and we have no fear. And we have no fear for good reason. Why does the state need my baby's DNA on file? Why didn't I receive informed consent about this? Were you?
A heel prick. Nearly every baby born in the U.S. gets one shortly after birth. Their newborn blood fills 6 spots on a special card used to test the baby for dozens of disorders that, if treated early enough, could prevent severe disabilities, even death. But unless your child is diagnosed with a disorder, it's often lost in the fog of childbirth.
Genetic testing?
We randomly selected 6 new moms and asked about their baby's genetic test. 3 remember the heel prick, 3 think they knew about the test, but like most parents, none knew what happened after the test. Were you aware that the state was storing your child's DNA?
No.
Do you think you should have been aware?
Absolutely.
You see, for the baby's own potentially life-saving test, researchers generally only need a few spots. The remaining blood becomes property of the state and may be sold to outside researchers without your knowledge or consent.
Blood is inherently or intrinsically personally identifiable.
Now, some states destroy the blood spots after a year. 12 states store them for at least 21. But California is one of 4 states that stores them indefinitely in a state-run biobank.
I just didn't realize that there's a repository somewhere of every baby born in the state. It's like fingerprints.
Companies aren't very good at keeping data safe. They try. There just should be accountability and transparency.
While parents don't have the right to opt out before storage.
Yeah. You don't have the right to opt out. Tells me that admiralty law needs to go away pretty quick. Yep. All right. Yep. Typical Democrat flip-flops during an election cycle. Oh, I think she might have some venom. Here we go.
Who's the liar? Who's the liar? The only liar is your VP, Ms. Kamala Harris, okay? Because she was the border czar. But now she's not the border czar, obviously, because I guess she's having whiplash. But we have everything on video. She wanted to ban fracking, and now all of a sudden she doesn't want to ban fracking. She wanted to defund the police. Now all of a sudden she doesn't want to defund the police. She wanted to get rid of private insurance. Now all of a sudden she doesn't want to get rid of private insurance. Say you don't know what you're talking about and go. Because all of this is on video and on tape, okay? The only liar is your VP, Ms. Kamala Harris. Donald Trump doesn't lie. He tells it how it is, and that's why y'all hate him.
Yep. And everything that he says
Who's the liar?
ends up coming to be, doesn't it? Yep. All right.
Well, hi there. Listen to this.
Donald Trump does not care about border security. He only cares about himself.
Democrat supporters, do you have any kind of memory whatsoever? Open borders, closed borders, make up your mind. Donald Trump only cares about himself. He doesn't care about this country. The man was building a wall, and you guys got in the way, protesting and boycotting. The wall is evil. ICE is evil. Trump is a racist. You guys aren't thinking for yourselves, and you haven't been thinking for yourselves, and don't try to defend yourselves because you haven't been. No. This is complete nonsense. You guys stop Trump from building the wall, but you don't stop Biden from trying to finish it. Pathetically so. And now Kamala Harris, a supposed black woman, is saying we need border security, and everybody's behind her. You guys don't think for yourselves. And it's about high time you start. We've lost too much. Our country is becoming more and more toxic every single day, and it's coming from the left. We can talk about bedwetter rhinos all we want to, but the truth is it's flooding in literally from the left. One of my former students is dead from fentanyl poisoning, and I blame every single person who got in Trump's way. I blame every single person who blindly votes Democrat. You guys have not been paying attention to these jokers. They're taking advantage of us. They're constantly raising taxes. They're making everything. They're making life in the United States a nightmare for a native born anyway. And for those of you who believe that Republicans are evil because they voted down that border bill, listen, that bill would have done nothing for the border. You want to fortify the border, finish the wall. Don't put a bunch of people that can be coerced and manipulated to be involved with the cartels, the drug trafficking, the human smuggling. Finish the wall.
Yep. Finish the wall. They can't finish the wall because they sold off the remaining stockpile of stuff to finish the wall. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sold it off. Yeah.
My entire For You page right now is presidential stuff and the campaigns being AI and what to believe and what not to believe. Just the other day, I received an email for a paid promotion, paid, for me to make a video and post it on TikTok talking about the Democratic side. At the end of this email, it says, if you want to get things going, we'll send over an NDA for you to sign and we'll get started. I know a lot of people get their views and their opinions and their beliefs based off of what their favorite influencers are saying. Just know, they might have been paid to say the things they're saying. My entire For You page right now is presidential stuff.
So they are, we've been talking about them getting paid to do this for a while. I mean, they were paid to do it when it was just protesting going on, right? Yeah. All right. Shipwreck says someone should tell Kamala Harris that it is free for her to do a Spaces on with Elon Musk. Wouldn't cost taxpayers a dime.
Delayed online talk with Elon Musk. Elon Musk interviews Trump live on X after a delay. Now, according to Elon Musk, the delay was caused by a DDoS attack.
My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers and saturated all of our data lines, like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated.
I wonder who was responsible for that. Eventually, the conversation did get on after about 45 minutes. It about 2 hours, and it was pretty good. They talked about the border. They talked about open borders. They talked about bringing prosperity back to the United States. They talked about Kamala. They talked about Tim Walz and how he put tampons in boys' bathrooms. They talked about how unfair it was that Joe Biden had gotten booted out of his campaign. Well, anybody else that didn't agree with what was going on with the interview wanted to talk about was how Donald Trump sounded like he had a lisp or sounded like he had just taken his teeth out. It wasn't a lisp. He was using this like mic over here and it distorts really bad. I have one. I know this, and that's why I don't use it anymore. You could hear it rubbing up against his collar, and that was causing the distortion in his speech. You know that because there was a person recording Trump sitting there with a video, and I can show you.
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. Both sides. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
And the sound was fine. He had his teeth. The conversation was saved, and I retweeted it. Elon had saved it, and I think he'd edited out a lot of the dead space from the time where they were struggling to get going. And then I retweeted it. And so if you want to go to my X account, you can find it. So after it was all over, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz came out, and they put out a statement based on what they thought how the interview went. So it's right now Elon Musk is interviewing Donald Trump live on Twitter. We are not calling it X. Ooga booga. It's not enough that Musk has pledged to donate millions of dollars to help re-elect Trump. He's using his purchased platform, one of the largest social media sites in the world, to spread Trump's unhinged and hateful agenda to millions of users. Now, listen. If that's all you need to hear, chip in $25 now to help Kamala and Tim have the resources to respond to their lies. Ma'am, it is free to take your phone, set it up, and hit live on X. You are free to do your own space. It doesn't cost you
anything. A matter of fact, Elon Musk had put out that he would be happy to host you on his own space. See, it wouldn't cost you a dime. Doesn't cost taxpayers a dime. It's free. As far as viewership went, it was in the millions. So between 7:47 p.m. and 10:47 p.m., President Trump's space received 73 million views during the same period. There were 4 million posts about Elon Musk and Trump's conversation on X, generating a total of 998 million views. Combined views of the conversation with real Donald Trump and subsequent discussion by other accounts now at 1 billion.
Yeah. So we got 330 million in the United States. The world was listening. Oh, yeah. Insurrection. Barbie says, never forget Kamala cast the tie-breaking vote to crack down on tips earned by hospitality industry. Here we go.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 50.
So it says Kamala Harris hopes service workers forget she was the tie-breaking vote for the IRS. Go after tips.
The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which hired 87,000 IRS agents and then launched a tip reporting site, Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. The Inflation Reduction Act changed a wide range of tax laws and provided funds to improve our services and technology to make tax filing easier for you.
We are going to not.
After telling the country that 87,000 IRS agents were to track down people making $400,000 or more, the IRS launched this site to go after service workers making tips. And so you got IRS introduces new service industry tip reporting program.
Because when I get to office,
after Trump made his announcement to not tax tips in June, to amazing support, Kamala backtracked and is making the same promise, hoping people forget she sent the IRS after service workers.
Going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Yeah. So it's Kamala is relying heavily on the biased media to frame Trump's idea in a negative light while framing her idea in a positive light. This is how the biased media covers the exact same promise from each of the candidates. Yeah. Disgusting. Yep. All right. Moving on. So, Raw News Alert put this out a couple hours ago. Multiple pro-Palestine protesters and other activists are occupying and have shut down the 405 freeway, causing major traffic congestion in Los Angeles, California. Currently, around 50 to 100 pro-Palestine protesters and activists are occupying the highway. Yeah.
Saying the citizen that came up like protesters or something. They blocked the freeway.
One grandma told me to see what he did.
Yep. All right. Carla Benet says, so you mean to tell me that Eric Holder, who vetted Walz, overlooked the connections to the Muslim Brotherhood?
Well, there's new calls for Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz to explain his ties to a controversial Muslim cleric who defended Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. Mike Tobin is live in Chicago with more details. Mike.
Hi, Kaylee. The Washington Examiner just drummed up a video from 2018 in which then candidate Walz calls Imam Assad Zaman a master teacher. We start to see more appearances with Zaman and Governor Walz in 2019, January, April, and May. At one point, Zaman delivers an invocation to the state of the state address. He is the executive director of the Muslim American Society of Minnesota. If the Walz team did a background on Zaman, they would have found that back in 2015, he posted a link to a pro-Hitler propaganda movie called The Greatest Story Never Told. Still, he appeared with Governor Walz in May of 2020, calling for calm in the George Floyd riots, and again in 2023, following a string of vandalism at mosques. Now, Sam Westrop with the Middle East Forum says Governor Walz has been willfully ignorant of Zaman's radicalism because he relies on the Arab or Muslim voting bloc and cannot do anything that would make him appear Islamophobic.
This is a serious problem. Under a Walz-Harris ticket, given Walz's ability to embrace really just the worst kind of radicals from within the Muslim community, one can only imagine this would be replicated at the White House level. Walz clearly doesn't want to know about the extremists he embraces.
Now, state records we have tracked down show the Muslim American Society of Minnesota has received grants totaling at least $123 starting in the year 2021 through next fiscal year. Reporting from the Washington Examiner says the United Arab Emirates designated the Muslim American Society as a terrorist organization back in 2014, and that federal prosecutors described the Muslim American Society as a direct arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, the same Muslim Brotherhood that assassinated Anwar Sadat and gave birth to Hamas. Just a short time ago, we heard from the Harris-Walz campaign. Their statement reads, Governor Walz does not have a relationship with him, meaning Imam Zaman, and Walz strongly condemns Hamas terrorism.
Yeah. All right. The Prime Minister of the UK was kicked out of a pub. This is what happens when you treat radical Muslims better than your own citizens and let them take control of your country. The citizens are sick of it.
That man is not allowed in my pub. No law. I'm not going to physically hurt him. That man. That's assault. I am not bothering you. I am not bothering him. That man is not allowed in my pub. Get out of my pub. Go on. Get out of my pub. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Kamala's dad is a communist, says Robbie Starbuck. Knowing that should make it clear why many of us who've had family destroyed by communism have been warning everybody about the road that Democrats are taking us down. If you don't want your kids to live under modern communism, vote for Trump. So Kamala Harris's dad wrote this book called The Capital. Let me make it bigger. So this is Capital Accumulation and Income Distribution, Donald J. Harris. Yeah. And let's go here. So this is a preface. The aim of this work is twofold. It seeks to provide a system interpretation and critical assessment of the main contemporary lines of approach to the theory of accumulation and income distribution in the capitalist economy. At the same time, an attempt is made to develop an analytical reconstruction of some of the substantive problems and issues that arise in such theory. A basis reference point for the discussion is the system of ideas developed by the English classical economists and by Marx. This is a necessary point of departure since it is in these ideas and especially in the work of Marx that some of the main conceptual foundations for theoretical analysis of accumulation and distribution in the capitalist economy were laid. From this vantage point, it is possible to gain both a critical understanding of contemporary approaches to that analysis and a conceptual framework of developing a more adequate theory. To this end, the integrated structure of the system of ideas is reviewed in part 1. A sharp contrast is drawn with the later neoclassical system based on marginal productivity and subjective preference theory. Against this background, the problematic character of modern... Excuse me, I'm a little busy. Hang on a minute. What? All right. Against this background and problematic character of modern growth theory is identified and discussed as it is taking shape in the work of contemporary writers, beginning with Herod and Domar. In part 2, a scheme of analysis is rigorously developed in terms of a linear model of production with heterogeneous commodities under conditions of simple and expanded reproduction. In this context, a number of theoretical problems are examined pertaining to the relation between labor values and prices of production, the nature of the wage profit. Yeah, I don't think I want to go much more into that, definitely. All right. White dude for Harris. Here we go.
Hey, I am a white dude for Harris. Voting for Harris. I'm a male. I identify as male, a he, him, and I'm voting for Harris, Kamala Harris. Now you might have thought that it was racist to have a white guys only Zoom call a couple weeks back, and it was, but we get away with that because we're Democrats. So. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I might have low testosterone. I might not. I might. And my wife definitely wears the pants in our relationship. I'm just being honest. I pretty much do whatever she says to avoid conflict. I'm a yes dear dude. I'm miserable. But we all are, right? Right? I watch The View and Bravo TV. I know all of the Real Housewives names. My wife holds the remote, so that's what she chooses to watch. Why am I voting for Harris? Honestly, because my wife would kill me if she found out I did it. Happy wife, happy life, right? Do I think the country is moving in the right direction? Like dudes in women's sports? I gotta say yes on this because my wife thinks that's great. My wife rages day and night about Trump. She's just constantly So yeah, I'm gonna be voting for Harris because she's done so much, and I have to. I mean, I have to. I'm gonna be voting for Harris. Help me.
I don't know if there's any help for you, woman. I don't know. Hey, Minnesota, listen up.
abteeda waxay ahayd dowladda Mareykanka waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii annaga aan dhahno dowladda Mareykanka qabo waa kalsoonidaas inaan isku qabnaa
My answer to Somalians was that the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S.
anaga
tell them
Soomaali
to
haddii
do.
aan nahay
They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interests of Somalia.
waddankan anagaa ku nool
We Somalians must have that confidence in ourselves that we call for the shots in the U.S.
waddankan waddankii aan anaga tax ka dhiibno waaye
We live in
waa
the U.S.
waddankii gabar
we tax
idinka
in the
idinka
US,
dhalatayne
we have
ee
real
kongareska
voice.
fadhiso
The U.S. is a country where one of your daughters, myself, is in Congress to represent your interests.
intii aniga aan
For as long as I'm in the U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters, ocean, Indian Ocean, will not be stolen by Ethiopia or
congress joogo waddanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleeta iyo baddeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan
The U.S. would not dare to support anyone against Somalia to steal our land or ocean.
waddanka Maraykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleeta in
Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interests of Somalia from inside the U.S.
annaga ayna dhacaan marka taas ka seexda reer Minnesota gabadhii
So the woman, myself, you sent to Congress is working day and night to protect your interests. So it's kind of funny that she's a congressman or a congresswoman for the state that she lives in, but she is doing it all to benefit Somalia. Yeah, sounds like a foreign agent. I wonder if she's registered under FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act, because
congress aa u dirsateen way idinka war haysaa sidaad idinka u dareemaysiin dantaas ay u dareemayaan
as Somalians, I am as concerned about Somalia as you guys are. Together,
madaxweyne xasan sheekhna
so you're fighting for the interests of a foreign country, which basically comes down to treason. Treason. You're not there representing your state. You're there representing another country. Yeah. All right. Black woman sends a very clear message to the Black community about the Democrat Party. Here we go.
Hi, I just wanted to come on here and address, several people have asked me why many of my videos I'm speaking of the Democrat Party. And the reason that I'm speaking to the Democrat Party is because Black people are the only race of people that pledge 90% of our vote to one party. And it just so happens that that party is the Democrat Party. And the reason that's so important is because since 1963, since the assassination of John F. Kennedy, we have pledged support for a party, and not one person in that party signed the Civil Rights Act of 1965. Not one person. This is also the same people that were a part of the KKK, and we have pledged allegiance to them. Is that the most insane thing you've ever heard? Black people, we don't owe them anything. And so my goal in mentioning them is not to tell you not to vote for them. I'm telling you not to feel obligated to vote for them. It's a total difference. I am an independent now, and I vote for whomever I choose. And so when I have someone tell me that I must vote for a Democrat because she's a woman of color, I couldn't care less. I could not care less. I look at what happened in Chicago with a woman of color as mayor. I look at what happened in Baltimore. I'm looking at what's going on in Washington, D.C. I'm looking at all of these things. Do you know, as an American, I look at myself as an American. And when I vote for a candidate, I want that candidate to look at how they can improve my country, my communities, my state. Those are the things that I look for. And those are the things that I ask you to look for. Don't pledge your allegiance to a party that has taken us for granted for 60 years. And when I say taking us for granted, they're totally taking us for granted. When you have someone that moves illegal immigrants into a school that's for minority kids in the Bronx, in New York, when you have somebody move illegal immigrants, give them free housing, free everything, and then tell the minority kids in that community that they have to now go to school online because your illegal immigrants have priority. then I must say it's time for us to wake up. I looked at, they had over 600 people show up at a meeting in Chicago to discuss them closing a rec center that was built for Black kids. They're closing it so that they can house illegal immigrants. So we're having all of these things going on, things that are detrimental to us as a people, things that are detrimental to us and our families. And yet they come to us, it's time for election. All of you ignorant Black people, you better vote for us. That is what they say to us. And guess what we do? We tend to vote for them. And nobody else does that. They're not telling, Republicans are not out there telling Asian women. I guarantee you, they're not getting calls from white Republican women saying, you must vote for me. I guarantee you that's not happening. They're not calling Hispanic women saying, you must vote for me. The Democrats are not doing that to Hispanic women. But because of our history of slavery, because of our history of being totally subservient to them for several hundred years, they think that we're still in that same place. And they still treat us the same. So I say to the young people, and I'm so proud of them because they're not like us. You know, it never occurred to me to ask my mother why we were Democrats or to ask my grandfather. I just did it because that's what they did. And so when I woke up, and I woke up because a friend of mine called and told me I had to vote for Hillary Clinton. This was a white woman that was a friend of mine. I said, what do you mean I have to vote for Hillary? I said, I haven't researched it. I don't know. You know, there were other people running against Hillary. It was during the Democratic primaries. And I said, I don't have to vote for her. She said, yes, you do. You don't have a choice. We were no longer friends after then. So I say to you, Black people, and before you comment on my site, if you come in and tell me I have to vote for a Democrat, I'm going to block you because that is the most insane thing I've ever heard. Okay. So I say to you, vote for someone that's going to protect you and your community and your country. That's what I ask for.
Yep. And you sure ain't going to get it from the Democrat Party. No doubt about that. Yep. Let's try this again. Here we go.
So I think certain people are truly misunderstanding what's going on right now. When Trump was elected in 2016, it wasn't just another 4-year election. It was putting in a man who knows exactly what's going on behind the scenes, stuff that we don't see outright. Trump was asked to run by 200 generals of the United States military. They knew that he would be the only man to be able to take the slings and arrows of what would come to try to take down these globalist demons that have been in power for a very long time. So the whole mission and the whole point, since Trump was in office the first time in 2016, was to show the American people and the world all of the corruption in every facet of our country. They own the resources, our education, our currency, the internet, parts of the military, our justice system, and our land. Slowly over time, these things have been leaked out to show everyone just how corrupt these installed traitors are, and they are installed, overthrowing our government with rigged elections using electronic voting machines and many other ways that they cheated in the 2020 election. All of this is to show you, the American people, what they did to our country. It took a very long period of time to get where we're at right now. And Trump is the man leading the way, leading the charge, trying to wake you up, to show you all of this. It is not about politics. It's not about right or left. It's about bringing our country back to constitutional law. That's what it's about. We were hijacked by these globalists. This is what they're trying to show you. 2020 was a rigged and stolen election. Donald Trump won by a landslide. They overthrew the United States government, and that is treason. They do not get away with it. So we are to support Trump. There is and has been a plan in place for a very long time to take these giants down. God is leading the way. Trump is his David, and we already won. So pray, keep fighting back. Do not give up. Do not give up. It's Trump in that office. And if it's not, everybody loses. They want America to fall because we have the best Constitution, Bill of Rights, and Declaration of Independence, the three most sacred documents to keep us free. These globalists know this. That's why we're being attacked from within with people that are blackmailed and paid off in powerful positions. That's how they did it over time. So it's not an easy fix. It is not, hurry up. What's taking so long? It took a long time to get where we're at, and it's going to take time to undo it. And behind the scenes, there's a lot of things going on that we do not see. And the military is involved. The good military, the uncompromised military. We are bringing justice back. We will see justice. Hang on, pray, thank Almighty God, and keep supporting Trump, because we will see the greatest country ever in 2024 with Trump leading the way. Praise God.
Yeah. All right. AKA says Chinese immigrants have seen people like Kamala Harris before. They're experts when it comes to communism.
Why Chinese Americans support Trump? All right. So the reason is the Democrat administration, Biden administration, lead this country towards socialism and eventually towards communist dictatorship. We came from China. We know this is the way. This is not like people here don't understand what is a communist is. We know communist is, what communist is. That's why we support Trump.
This is really interesting because I'm also Chinese American myself. So
you haven't lived in China, I guess.
I did. I grew up in China.
Oh,
I grew up in China till I was 17. I'm from Shanghai, but yeah, I don't talk about my opinions because I'm a journalist. So I just want to hear more about your opinions. You know, as immigrants, a lot of people might say that Trump is anti-immigrants, or
Trump is not anti-immigrant. It's just against illegal immigrant.
Right.
It must be lawfully orderly.
Lawfully orderly. Simple. Chicago, please don't ignore me. Help me return to my country. Oh, Savannah Hernandez got something here.
Hey y'all, this is Savannah Hernandez in downtown Chicago, right next to Millennium Park, which is a tourist hotspot. The Bean is right down that way. And as you guys can see behind me, the migrant crisis in this area is really bad. I actually just walked out of my hotel, and this was the first thing that I saw was this gentleman behind me with this sign reading, need money for medicine. And he also has another portion of the sign that says, please don't ignore me, I need help, I'm trying to get back to my country. He shares that he's from Ecuador and that he got here a month ago, but he's trying to get back home because he contracted tuberculosis after staying at one of the migrant shelters here. Apparently They took him to the hospital, and he was there for 2 weeks. Doctors at that point told him he contracted tuberculosis from the shelter that he was at. So he is now on the street here, basically begging for money and for help, because he states that nobody here in Chicago is willing to help him. Now, similar to New York, Chicago does have the intake centers in which migrants can go and get plane tickets to go to other states or even to other countries. So we did direct him that way. But I've been in Chicago for a day, and you can see these migrants on every single corner that have these signs, and they're asking for money, they're asking for help, because the shelter system in this area is not doing good, and the migrant crisis in Chicago is not looking great.
Hey, Script Keeper. Good to have you in chat there. Hope you're doing well today, brother. We shared some of your stuff from yesterday. I see you got some stuff up that came up today. I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm just catching up on it. So, guys, this is what I was talking about, and Jack Posobiec put this up a few hours ago, and this is what I was talking about. You know, when you're listening, okay, the X Spaces, to me, is a little bit different than just going live on X. When you go live on X, to me, it seems like you have more control vocally as to what you do, okay? Because you guys that are on like Facebook and YouTube that are watching right now, you know, you're hearing the exact same thing that they're hearing on X. But moving to the Spaces side, I think that kind of goes through a different type of system. And I like the way that that Posobiec put it down here. For all the doubters claiming Trump was lisping on the call, it was just the Spaces compression. Here he is recorded on a phone in the same conversation, sounding perfectly normal. And I played this earlier.
Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him, you know, both sides. Yeah. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
You know.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Biden.
And the thing is when he turned his head there, you could hear that microphone that Shipwreck was talking about rubbing up against his coat. You could hear it when he turned his head. So any movement that he was making with his upper body was doing something with that microphone. Okay. And, you know, so, you know, it's just a way for people to try and pick anything that they can. Okay. To pick anything that they can out of this interview that would paint Donald Trump in a bad light, you know. And this is the thing, you know, and I've said this before, it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, it's both two sides of the same coin, okay, or two wings on the same bird, okay. Just one happens to go up while the other one goes down. And it's been a flip-flop, wishy-washy thing for generations here in this country. Now, do I see Donald Trump as a means in which to reestablish the republic? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's like that post that I read earlier, you know, for those that can't see or that see that Donald Trump is trying to fight to give our country back to us, there's always going to be that percentage of the population that doesn't want it. You know, that's no different than Moses, okay, when he brought the Israelites out of Egypt, okay, and they got to the other side of the Red Sea. How many times did these people say to him, just let us go back to Egypt? At least there we knew what we had. It's like a Republican trying to lead all the Democrats out of the Democrat Party. Everything's got to repeat itself. Everything. You know, you think about it. It's Moses being a Republican and all the other Israelites are Democrats living on the tit. It's that simple. The teat of America. Okay. And it's not it's not productive. It's 100% counterproductive. You know, it's you're offering people freedom, and there are people collectively fighting to not get that freedom, because if they have that freedom, then they actually have to do something for themselves. They have to build a future for themselves. You know, and the thing is don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of that. You know, I got a buddy up in Portland. He's an old music guy. Okay. He was on that what are they the one that I think his name was Chuck Woolery did. It was a dating game where they go out on dates, right? And then that, you know, one person would be in the studio talking with Chuck, and the other one would be on a green screen in the background, and he wrote a rap about this girl that he went on a date with, and basically telling everybody that she was 100% skank. Okay, all right. The guy's been a Democrat his whole life. Okay, worked for other companies and everything. Now, what did he do? You know, in the era of Donald Trump, he was able to do things. You know, he was able to do things with his parents. Then his mom passed away. Now he lives with his dad, taking care of his dad. But the opportunity came for him, and now he's running his own candy business. You know, so you look at this and you say, okay, and he wasn't living on the teat, you know, but I'm just saying that, you know, that, you know, you don't have to come from money in order to be successful. You just have to have drive and determination. You have to be willing to learn skills that are going to benefit you. When I became a carpenter, it was because of my love for building things. You know, and I wanted to know every facet of it, you know, from framing all the way through finishing and, you know, and then expanding the areas in which I live, you know, and trying to design something to make things a little bit more convenient. So it's like, I made my own dog door before I actually bought a dog door, you know, a professionally designed one, but I made my own first, you know, just cut out a section of the wood, put the proper type of hinges on there and stuff. And the, you know, but the little dogs weren't strong enough to push it open. So I ended up taking that out, and I put in one that, you know, that they sell. They got the rubber flap, you know. But, you know, it's the idea that I was able to do what I needed because I had the skills to do that. Okay. When I built my greenhouses, okay, I designed them in a way, you know, the interiors and the wiring and everything to accommodate everything that I wanted to do in those greenhouses all year round, not just during the summertime. I wanted to be able to still have my cannabis growing in a couple of the greenhouses, but I wanted fruits and vegetables growing in the other greenhouses. So that means that I had to provide a way in which to produce its own heat, you know, during the daytime, you know, and at nighttime, I had to produce a way in order to heat so that the roots would never freeze and the leaves would never freeze or anything like that. You know, you got to have moderate temperatures in your greenhouse. So climate controlled. And I didn't go out and buy the super expensive equipment in order to do that. I just, you know, I picked up some books and I read them, And I was like, okay, I understand this point. Running tube underneath the gravel in the base of the greenhouse, because you don't want to do it a greenhouse on the grass, because then you're going to have grass growing inside the greenhouse that you're going to have to keep cut and everything else. So you do a gravel base, and in doing so, running some pipe or hose underneath that gravel, and then hooking up a hot water heater in the greenhouse, and only having that hot water heater running. And this is what's crazy, is the hot water heater was enough running all night long, producing enough heat to heat the inside of it. And basically what we did was we'd fill up the hot water heater with cold water, and then it would start producing its own hot water. After an hour, we go out, we turn on the hose, and one end of the hose was the output, and one end of it went to the input. So we were circulating that water through the floor, producing its own heat, and not having to worry about anything other than the fuel consumption that the hot water heater was going to use. Okay. And that hot water heater ran for 3 weeks off of a 90-pound tank of propane. Okay. So that 90-pound tank of propane cost me about $21. So basically, I heated that greenhouse for $21, minimum, or maximum $21 a month, and was able to keep my plants alive. I was keeping strains of medical cannabis that were designed for specific illnesses and things alive and thriving throughout the whole winter time, so that when the springtime come, I could take and make cuttings, start whole new plants to be able to provide to the patients who were coming to pick up a plant and take it home and grow it themselves. It was a 90-pound. It was a 90-pound propane tank. I have a big 2,000 gallon tank out here, so I could go and basically just have that filled up every couple of months, and fill up and I was able to fill up my own tanks. It's got one of those nozzles, so that how you would take a tank down to the gas station or whatever that's got a propane thing to fill it up. I got my own fill up thing here. The neighbors actually used to come over, and everybody would, they would pay to get their tanks filled up, and they were paying, a couple of dollars less than what they were paying in town. And I'd take that money every month and stick it in an envelope, so that when the tank got low, I could get it filled up again. And it was a convenience. It's a convenience when that 93-year-old lady who lives next door only had to come, a half a block on icy roads to here to get, it was the tank. The tanks are 90-pound. I think they call them 90-pound tanks. They're about 3 feet tall and about, I would say, about 15 inches wide. 90 pounds of propane would cost you over $400 in California. Dude, $21 up here for that. Yeah. But I know that I do know now my tank gets filled up by Suburban here. And I do know that their prices have, from my understanding, have almost doubled since Biden took office. So, but I haven't had the tank filled up in a while, because I'm running on generators. So, during the winter time, I'll get more just to keep my propane heaters going and go from there. So, did we see this one? Okay. All right. Let's get going here. Conservative Diva says he absolutely nails it. Here we go.
Two things you're never going to see at a Democratic rally or convention. Number one, an American flag. They're nowhere to be found. It's fucking scary that somebody wants to rule this country isn't proud enough to show our fucking colors and our flag. Number two, you're never going to hear about Jesus Christ, the Lord or religion, under God, Pledge of Allegiance, none of that, because they don't believe in any of that. And if they hear that, they're going to start to melt like Lizzo in a heat wave. On the other hand, you have a Donald Trump rally where he has somebody come out from the town he's visiting, a religious man, preacher, whoever, to pray over the crowd. Then before he hits the stage, I'm proud to be American starts to play. He walks out, he's got American flag pin on his suit, he's got American flags all around, hand on his heart, Pledge of Allegiance. How is this even close? How is this close at all? It's good against evil, and if you're voting the wrong way, you're a part of the fucking problem. The end. If you're voting left, you're considered an enemy of the fucking United States of America. And that's how it should be. We got to get back on track to our old morals and standard ways.
Need to take us back to the 1950s when hot rods were the thing. They did. You got to admit, they had some nice hot rods from back then in the 50s and the 60s. Yeah. Yeah. Muscle cars that came out in the 60s and the early 70s. Yeah. Remember those? I remember them. I remember them well. We had cool cars. We had awesome music. We had good, clean food. We drank water from a hose. You got into an argument with someone, you fought it out, and then you went off and snuck a beer out of your dad's fridge, and and sat down together, and you like friends all over again. Yep. Yeah. Dean Lindsay says, I got a 69 Nova out in the garage. Yeah. LSP, no, I don't run on propane anymore. I used to run on propane. I had a Champion generator out here that ran on propane. I find that the propane fed portable generators tend to break down a lot more than the gasoline ones. So I'm running a little Honda. I'm running right now on a Honda. I have the Champion going right now just for the 2-hour morning session to make sure the freezer is frozen because I got a small stockpile of ice for beverages and for keeping the baby's milk and stuff in the cooler. Yeah, with this Honda, I'm using 3 gallons a day for a 24-hour period. That's pretty good, when I was running the Champion, having to run the Champion pretty much 24 hours a day, I was going through 10 gallons a day. So yeah, this is a huge difference, and my gas is going to stretch out a lot longer now that the Honda got here this weekend. And again, that's from Miss Mindersu and her husband who brought that down to me this weekend. So yeah, get to be able to yeah, it's a Honda 2800. Yeah, 3 gallons a day. Yeah, 1.5 gallons per fill up. And yeah, it's runs 12 hours on that 1.5 gallons. So yeah, very pleased with it. And I haven't had any computer issues, no shutdowns or anything like that. I can run the computer, light, a fan, and have the freezer plugged in. And yeah, it does good. It burns a little bit more when the freezer's plugged into the Honda. It will go through a little bit more. So I've got it plugged into the Champion right now because I'm making coffee at the same time. So I won't plug a coffee pot into one of those smaller generators unless it's being plugged in by itself, because it'll actually bog it right out. It's been known to decrease the pole amount that you're able to get out of an outlet on the on the generators, the smaller ones. So I had a Predator that it was an 1800. It was only an 1800 watt, and it would run. It ran 12 hours on 1.5 gallons of gas, but I was only getting about 600 watts off of it. So I would be doing the podcast, and all of a sudden, power would go. You know, so. All right. Bob says, why aren't the FBI and DOJ looking into this? And it's basically Kyle Foxton says, time to come clean. I work for Wayne County, Michigan, and I threw out every Trump ballot I saw, tens of thousands of them. And so did all of my coworkers. I regret nothing. And then Kiari Jean says, you did Michigan a favor. I want to know, why isn't this person being prosecuted? Admitting a crime like that? For a federal election at that. So it's a federal crime and a state crime. So, Nick Freitas, the Redcoats are coming. Here we go.
Did you guys see this? Yeah. Looks like the British government is going to extradite Americans for saying things on social media they don't like. So essentially, the British government is going to finally crack down on foreigners breaking their laws. Not in their own country. No, they're going to try to come over to the U.S. and do it. And I got to tell you, as a Virginian, we're stoked, right? Because all of our heroes in Virginia became heroes by fighting the British. So the fact that the Redcoats are coming, this is a huge opportunity for us. We are really excited. We even put one of your kings on our flag. Yeah, he's right here. Anyway, can't wait to see you. And if you decide to bring Hessians again, tell them we got a Christmas present for them. They'll know what we're talking
about. Tread around and find out. Yep. So 2 toddlers in their diapers walk away fine after being thrown from a Jeep that had flipped on a Texas highway. The kids stood alone in good sign. Just scraped up. The man who originally shared the post on Facebook said deputies responded to a major crash on the main lanes of the East Freeway at Freeport. A 2-car crash where one of the cars flipped over several times, causing ejection, said the sheriff. The car was occupied by 1 adult and 2 children. They were being transported to a hospital. No reported injuries to the occupants in the other car. The incident reportedly happened on Interstate 10 East Freeway of Freeport. And there's the kids out there in their know-it-all diapers. Hope everybody's okay, right? Yep, that's all we can do. All right, it gets worse for Walz. The unearthed footage from 2004 shows that Senator Tim Walz telling the Gold Star family that he deployed to Afghanistan and that he and the troops under his command struggled with PTSD.
And both of you, with your keen understanding of how this works, especially from National Guard families, I can tell you this, having been one of those that came back, we were in support of OEF, but sitting in there with OIF veterans, when we came back, they showed us the horse whisperer and told us to be nice when we went home. And that was the extent of it. That was in 2004. Now, I'm proud to say that because of the people sitting in here and people who came before me, things have changed over the last 4 years. They have not changed enough. But Mr. Kennedy is following and moving something forward that the late senator from Minnesota, Senator Wellstone, advocated so clearly, mental health parity, and this issue of destigmatizing mental health, of understanding. And I being in there and knowing as a first sergeant, know exactly what you're saying, and watching as people aren't trained on this, that there is there's a discrimination that goes against a soldier who has the courage, the fortitude, and as you said, the insight to admit this. So there's a couple things I want to ask you, and both of you with your keen understanding of.
And this guy never saw a day of combat in his life. Yeah, but he suffers from severe PTSD. They must have hurt his feelings in the National Guard, and that's probably what happened. All right, 1776 says, make no mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we know that all the polls that they're showing where Kamala is beating Trump are fake. Checkmate.
The conversation between Elon Musk and Trump is just wrapping up, and what did we learn? That Trump and Elon are having one of the most simple conversations, and everybody is acting like it's the end of the world. The EU sent Elon Musk a letter. Somebody broke into Trump's campaign office in Virginia. This is the email that Kamala's campaign sent out asking for your donation. The White House press corps was asking the White House to intervene. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we know that all the polls that they are showing where Kamala is beating Trump are fake. I mean, let's just be honest, there's no comparison here. Over 1 million active listeners. That's insane. Let me just say, you don't act this way if you really think you're winning. The conversation between Elon Musk and Trump is just wrapping.
Yep. All right. Moving on. Mays says, oh my God, watch this clip. CNN selectively cuts out part of Elon and Trump's conversation about nuclear energy last night to make it seem like they were saying that the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were no big deal.
I want to play one exchange that was kind of classic. Well, there were a lot of exchanges that were classic Donald Trump, but this one really stuck out to us.
And Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So it's really not something that, you know, so it's not as scary as people think, basically.
So that was more Elon Musk than Donald Trump talking about, sort of suggesting that what happened almost 80 years ago, I think 80 years ago next year, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, now it's okay. Kind of trying to blow off the impact of that. I want to play one exchange.
Yeah. Dana Bash, another one that I can't wait to see. Hanging by their neck. Yep. Carly Bonet says so many will be lost forever.
By illegal immigrants that Joe Biden led into the country.
How do you know?
Because they've arrested the people that these girls.
How do you know?
Their status was illegal immigrants.
I'm not going to believe you.
But that's the story.
Anybody who's from Trump, I can't believe.
But what are your thoughts about that? That Americans are being
About these young girls.
by illegal
I'm
immigrants.
not going to blame it on Joe Biden.
Then who you blame it on? Joe Biden voters?
No, I'm not blaming it on anybody.
Then who do you blame it on? Whose fault is it?
I think it's we had a bill in Congress. It was the toughest bill on immigration.
That's not true. That's the marketing sound bites. $80 billion went
How do you know that?
Because we studied the bill.
I don't believe anything.
$80 billion of that went to Ukraine and Israel.
There's no way.
Only
I
$20
will
billion.
never vote for that piece of ever.
You will.
No, get out of here.
You will.
I never will.
Yeah, you will.
Especially when they have war on the land.
You will.
No.
Yeah, I know you will.
Scumbag.
I know you will.
Scumbag.
Can you just do me a favor and say their names since the media's not repeating their names?
I don't think so. I'm still not going to vote for Trump.
Okay. But you haven't heard these names.
But so what?
But you heard the name George Floyd. So why do we celebrate and honor the killing of a career criminal, but we don't even know the names of 3 innocent law-abiding?
I am not getting into this debate with you.
You see what I'm saying, though?
No, I don't.
These are 3 innocent Americans.
No, I have no
productive
idea what
futures
you're
of this
talking
country.
about. No,
Innocent Americans. No one knows their
It
names.
doesn't mean I'm going to vote for a criminal.
Yeah, but no one knows their. It's sad.
Felon.
It's a disgrace.
A guy who steals military secrets and takes them to Mar-a-Lago.
Are you talking about Joe Biden, who puts them in the Corvette garage?
I am talking about Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yep. Some people will be lost forever. 4 to 6%. I told you guys. There we go.
FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr says the biggest issue is bureaucratic delays, and he joins us now. Brendan, good to see you. So explain, again, $42 billion, 0 people connected. You say it's bureaucratic delays. Explain that for us.
Yeah, look, in 2021, Vice President Harris agreed to lead the administration's signature $42 billion plan to get millions of Americans connected to the internet. And as you note, 1,001 days later, not a single home or business has been connected. And in fact, not even one shovel's worth of dirt has been turned. And it gets worse. The administration is now confirming that it won't be until sometime next year at the earliest that any construction projects even get going. And this makes the program led by Vice President Harris the slowest moving federal broadband initiative in modern history. And the reason why is it's gotten wrapped around the DEI axle, importing DEI requirements in the process. They've inserted a climate change agenda that they want people to pursue. And they've added all of these extraneous political considerations that have nothing to do with just quickly getting Americans connected.
I want you to, Brendan, though, because I can hear people say this, well, if the money's not being spent, then what's the harm? You have to explain the harm, because is it being wasted somehow? Is the money being spent not just on what it's supposed to be spent on, if that makes sense?
Yeah, the biggest harm is we're leaving families stuck on the wrong side of the digital divide needlessly. I was just in Pennsylvania last week holding a roundtable with some of the community members that are supposed to benefit from these dollars. Pennsylvania alone was supposed to see 1.16 billion of those funds to connect about 280,000 homes and businesses, and they're just still stuck waiting. And I talked to education leaders, healthcare officials. I mean, having a high-speed connection is so vital to so many components of our lives. Those people should have been delivered on the promise of high-speed connectivity by now. Same here at Nevada, where I am today. Nevada was supposed to get 416 million of that 42 billion to connect over 44,000 homes and business. All these people are just getting left behind needlessly, and that's a real cost.
Well, I think there's two costs here. One, again, I come from a place where it's rural and there's either really crappy broadband or they don't get access to it. That's important. But also you have people who have businesses that are willing to move to these lower populated, lower income areas and set up shop, but they can't come because they don't have the internet infrastructure there. And so you're losing on both fronts. But is it possible to go with a Starlink? I mean, there's no shovel there. Just buy the satellites from Elon Musk, and boom, you have this high-speed internet, anywhere in these rural areas. Is that possible?
Yeah, you're exactly right. In fact, back in 2020, President Trump stood in the Oval Office and in the White House and announced a plan to get Americans quickly connected. And one of the results of that is we awarded for $885 million a contract to Elon Musk's Starlink to quickly bring high-speed internet to hundreds of thousands of locations all across the country. Well, flash forward to last year, and the government revoked that 2020 award for reasons that, to me, seemed more like sort of partisan score settling rather than just getting Americans connected. So you're right. This is a program, the $42 billion, that is worth fighting for. And the truth is we can quickly correct course, get rid of the DEI requirements, get rid of the climate change agenda, get rid of the technology bias, let Elon Musk's Starlink compete on a level playing field. Then you can see people quickly connected with this program, but we need to change course.
Brendan, you changed course by changing who is running the country.
And that's one way, but the other way is just for the administration to get things together. And I hope that we can change course sooner rather than later. We could change course next month, get rid of the DEI requirements, get rid of the climate change agenda. They've been chasing states with putting price controls in because they're artificially increasing the cost of building broadband in this country. And to counteract that, they're imposing price controls on how much you can charge. So we need a course correction here. I prefer to see it sooner rather than later. But look, the trend line's not great. If you look in Pennsylvania and here in Nevada, they have a weighting system that the Biden-Harris administration has imposed, and you can get 100 points potentially for this. They're putting speed of deployment at 1 point out of 100. That's not the right direction.
Hope springs eternal. I don't think you're going to see Democrats move away from these DEI initiatives. Hopefully they would, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, they'll course correct, Brendan. And I am Dolly Parton, and my new album's coming out next month. Brendan Carr, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brendan.
You're not Dolly Parton. Definitely not Dolly Parton. Yeah. Juanita Broderick. Esty, we love you.
I logged on this morning to check my emails, whatever it is that I'm pretending to do every day. And, all these people are asking me to agree to a space with Elon Musk. Look, I'm doing enough. You guys aren't treating me fair. And I think it's because I'm Black and sometimes because I'm also Indian. Now, I'm in the middle of getting Joe dressed, all right, for his second ice cream of the morning. And I don't think the American people really appreciate how hard I've worked. There are burdens every day in this large White House. Jill doesn't do anything. She always pretends that her nails are done to avoid wiping Joe. I'm always the one, putting the cream. America doesn't appreciate the hard work for some reason, my phone just glitches when I'm talking about everything I've accomplished. And that's probably Elon Musk doing that himself. I mean, he might as well have casted his ballot last night, all right? And I don't think it's fair that he wants a prosperous economy and he complains about inflation. It's not right. We've done a lot. We've done a lot. When I write it down, only most of the paper is still blank. There's things that we've accomplished, and you know, I'll see Trump at the debate. You know, I'm rearing to go. I'm ready. All right. I eat no for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I eat other things as a snack.
Oh boy. Even making fun of her, I can't I can't stomach her. Yep. All right, election interference. TikTok took down some streams. Let's see what's going on here.
TikTok, what the fuck is going on? You literally took down my live where all I was doing was playing the interview between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. This is Elon Musk interviewing the 45th president of the United States. It is the most watched interview that's ever going to happen this year. And you took it down after 45 seconds for misinformation, even though I didn't say a word. And I got to be honest with you, I wasn't really pissed when that happened because I just imagined it was a bunch of liberals really upset and mass reporting it. But then 3 minutes later, you denied the fucking appeal. How? I didn't even say anything. This was just Elon Musk interviewing Donald Trump. The only reason I was playing it on TikTok was because there are more than 1 million people watching it on X and millions of other people who can't get into the space. I offered no commentary. I said nothing about what they were talking about. I just wanted people to be able to hear the interview. But according to you, that was misinformation after 45 seconds. Like I said, I wasn't pissed. I figured people just mass reported. But then somehow your fucking reviewers denied the appeal. How? How do you deny that appeal? How do you say it's misinformation when it's just Elon Musk interviewing Donald Trump? How the fuck does that happen? How is this not suppressing free speech? What the fuck? TikTok, I submitted an appeal through the legal process. Fix this.
Yep. But bunches of people got taken down. Bunches and bunches and bunches. All right. Breaking video of the 4.4 Southern California earthquake. The dog's looking at you, wondering why you're standing on your toes. Hold on to the ceiling. Don't blame the dog. Yeah. All right. Felt like an explosion. Aid 1 report via Volcano Discovery. Did this feel like a 4.4 to you? I've been in many California earthquakes, and this just seemed a lot stronger on the videos. On the videos I've seen, and this was the area. So I don't know. Maybe California is going to drop off into the ocean. What? Really? That was
TikTok. What the fuck is?
I went through the whole list, and we're only 2 hours and 49 minutes into this. Oh, did you look at that? Yep. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Robbie Starbuck says every Harley Davidson rider is going to want to see this. It sure sounds like CEO Jochen Zeitz admits that he took the Harley job because it was an opportunity to transform the American icon into embracing wokeness and DEI. Here we go.
No more to do some commercials for us, and the slogan was United Ride. And we launched it just as we started to manufacture again, and that was sort of our comeback as a company into the world, opening our factories again and bringing everybody as diverse as we could possibly be as a business and a brand, and celebrate diversity and inclusion. And that's one of the reasons why I took the job, is because I believe in an incredible American icon and the transformation and the opportunity to contribute positively to a very divisive society. I believe that business and philanthropy and working together can make a significant impact. And I realize that politicians and politics can only do so much, and often they don't. but business can be a significant force for good, and not just because it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing also for the business itself. So being inclusive, I think, is a critical component. No more.
Yeah. Yep. And what you've done is successfully got people to turn their backs on Harley Davidson. I mean, they're taking everything off, you know. All right. Attention, everyone who lives in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. This reportedly happened at Premier Dental Group in Knoxville, Tennessee. Staff members were filmed laughing at the private diary of a cancer patient. Pure scum.
Which are dermal, so they're not risking anything. I'm going to continue in the testing and the meds, but my views have not changed on treatment. I'm not going to do any dialysis, chemo, radiation, or infusions. I will agree to surgery, but it's to repair or correct. But I am not having anything removed unless they know what's causing the failure. But in my opinion, if they can't stop it, stop it, removing the bad parts will only lead to the bad sooner. If the failure continues, taking parts out is pointless if they don't know the cause. I'm not sure if there are any other treatment options. If so, I'll make those choices as I go. If they are a lot, if it's this failure, it's all.
Wow. Reading somebody's private diary and laughing about their cancer. Yeah. All right. And that's in Knoxville, Tennessee, right? Yeah. Premier Dental Group in Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah. All right. George says, breaking Democrat election worker in Harris County, Texas, named Daryl Blackburn has just been charged with 6 felonies for his part in rigging the 2022 midterm election against Republican candidates. Oh boy, here we go.
You know, anytime that 2 or more affidavits are filed by citizens in the state of Texas complaining about an election violation, by law, the district attorney is required to investigate. That is what happened in this election. Multiple affidavits were filed, sent to us immediately after the election, and we did what we always do. We called in an independent investigative agency, the Texas Rangers. The investigation actually began shortly after the election. And we now know, because the Secretary of State's office has done a preliminary report on Harris County's general election of 2022, that there were major problems with that election. We all remember long lines, some disruption in voting because of the machines, but primarily the complaints were lack of paper ballots, that voting locations ran out of paper. Some have said this was directed at one party. Our investigation has not found that to be so. However, the Secretary of State's office has said that the insufficient distribution of ballot paper to polling locations and the loss of an effective monitoring system resulting in those ballot paper shortages at multiple polling locations across Harris County and on election day is attributed to a cessation of voting at certain locations. You can look at this public report and find what the Secretary of State's office found and reported as their findings publicly to support them, why they found what they found. Now, we know that voting was disrupted. We know that there are some people in Harris County who did not get to vote. We know this was a failure in terms of an election that the government has a responsibility to run effectively, ethically, and most importantly, accurately. Here's what the criminal investigation found, because while we didn't know how it happened, now we do. Defendant Daryl Blackburn who worked in the now defunct Elections Administrator's Office, has been charged with 6 felony charges, 5 of them tampering with a document, 1 theft by public official. This individual was specifically assigned to see that paper was allocated properly in all of the polling locations. He had other responsibilities equally as important, but this is really the nuts and bolts of the election, the allocation of paper. And it is at the heart of much of what the problem was back in November of 2022. Unfortunately, under the not so watchful eye of Isabel Longoria and later Clifford Tatum, Mr. Blackburn represented that he worked full-time for Harris County, while in truth, he worked a second full-time job elsewhere. The result is he didn't do his job for Harris County. Can't do 2 full-time jobs and give them the credit and the attention that they need. You may remember that Isabel Longoria was appointed. She had not been employed prior to her appointment, and she left in ignominy after the primary election of 2022. She was followed by Clifford Tatum, an individual who remains employed with Harris County in Precinct 2. Now, while working for the elections office, Mr. Blackburn not only stole thousands of dollars from Harris County in the sense that he lied on timesheets, much more importantly, he stole individuals' rights to vote, a basic constitutional right in our democracy, because people on both sides were delayed in their voting, halted in their voting, rerouted in their voting. I don't know that we'll actually know the damage there, but it's compounded by the loss of public trust in our election system here in Harris County. That is the real cost, and it is priceless. You know, it's interesting that the greed of one person, where checks and balances have been removed, where folks like Mr. Blackburn were allowed to work from home. I'll tell you, the scheme was crude in terms of stealing from the county. Nothing sophisticated here. And yet the consequences were massive. Some of those consequences are that there have been hundreds of thousands of dollars spent in terms of investigations, not just the cost of the Texas Rangers and our prosecutors, but the Secretary of State's office and countless private litigants. The millions lost, though, does not compare to the damage done in terms of whether people will feel good about going to vote, and we want them to. By holding Darrell Blackburn criminally responsible, we can at least attribute criminal responsibility to this individual, a public servant who did not serve, who instead fleeced taxpayers for his salary, and we paid a much greater consequential result for his actions. I do want to say that the investigation found no evidence of intent to impact the outcome of the election for either party. But it is undeniable that there is a lot of evidence to show that Mr. Blackburn's crime did impact the election.
Oh, yeah. So I'm wondering if we're going to see an overturning there. Yep.
You know,
Yep. All right. Script Keeper Elect says, Nancy Pelosi says the jokes about the gay hammer attack on Paul Pelosi increased the trauma and it must stop. Jokes are violence, she says. Let's see. Come on, Nancy. Whoop. Dang it. I clicked it twice on accident.
You were in Washington. Your husband, Paul, was in San Francisco, and he was brutally attacked. It was a terrible experience for him and obviously for you and your family. First of all, how's he doing?
You're nice to ask. Thank you. He's coming along. He's making progress. More to come. And but he is blessed by so much love and good wishes and prayers from people all over the world. But the trauma is still there for our children and our grandchildren, because after it happened, as violent as it was, and coming into our own home and into our bedroom and all of that, so awful that the, what's his name, would make a joke of it, as did his children, as did a Republican governor and some Republican leadership. So that increased the trauma, because it's like, what is that? That cannot be what America is becoming. So the issue of political violence is something that must be, politics is the way of, the nonviolent way of disagreement, and they're making it a violent way. It has to stop. Preventing Congress from doing its, honoring its responsibility for a peaceful transfer of power. It did so with violence, with danger, with disgraceful behavior, with defecation on the floors of the Congress, of the House of defecation, yes, and slurs against the people who maintain the Capitol, for Congress, for our visitors, for the press, covers it, for the children who come and the rest. They were terrible. It was awful. And refusing the then president to send the National Guard, and refusing to send the National Guard. It's disgraceful.
Yeah. Donald Trump refused to send National Guard, huh? Yeah. Nancy, you know, why don't you go home and take that pink dildo hammer and beat the hell out of your husband some more, okay? Because you've lost it. You whack off.
Time that two or more.
She's totally whack. You know. All right, Ultra MAGA Party. Here we go.
Donald Trump, eu quero dizer que aqui, os brasileiros, indígenas e todos também não indígenas, gostam muito do Senhor, principalmente eu. Eu gosto muito do Senhor. Eu oro a Deus para Deus te abençoar. Possa dar uma nova oportunidade, que eu venha a ser o presidente da República dos Estados Unidos aí para o povo americano. E esse homem prospera. E esse homem vence em tudo. Então o Senhor pode ter isso na tua vida. E quero dizer, renovar. Eu te amo. Em Cristo Jesus, todos nós, em irmão, em Jesus Cristo. Deus te abençoe.
You got people from all around the world sending messages to Donald Trump like that. You know, we had him from the UK a couple of days ago. Everything. People are seeing things, you know. People are seeing things and they're reacting, and that's what needs to happen, you know. What's this XRP, NESARA, QFS? You know, I'm not going to boast anything on this NESARA stuff because, you know, it's like I told you before. We've known people. We've had people in our chat that specifically went out and bought houses and bought cars and everything back at the beginning of this, thinking that NESARA was going to come. Okay. And have pretty much signed these contracts for these loans and everything else in order to buy these places, thinking that it's all going to go away. Okay. The thing we always have to remember is we reap what we sow. Okay. So if you're going about it in a way to try and make it disappear, okay, that's not going to happen for you. Okay. So I don't want people going out and spending every last penny that they have to go and buy something in hopes that the debt of it is going to disappear. That's nuts. Okay. We have no idea what's gonna come to us at the end of that. Okay. There's a darn good chance that we'll have to work our asses off for everything that we get. It might be better for the generation next, but for our generation, for us, the people who worked already 40 or more years of our lives, you know, I'm not expecting all of this great wealth and everything to come flying at us. Okay. Now understand this. If it does happen, that's awesome. But honestly, the only way that it would work out is if we actually went back to 1940s, 1950s prices on everything with a gold standard dollar. And then what we have in our banks is building lives. Okay. But that's the only way that would work. Okay. You know, to benefit us directly. You know, sure, we might have a little bit more comfortable lives, you know, now that we're coming into our 60s, and some of you are already beyond your 60s. Some of you are in your 70s already, you know. But I'm not expecting all this big wealth to come at us. Okay. I'm not built like that. I'm not built like that. I can't see, you know, them just giving us millions and millions of dollars each. Okay. I can't. Okay. Because I mean, at that point then they might as well leave the prices where they're at now, because that's what they're going to end up doing. They're going to jack the prices up because now everybody's got money. So the value of the dollar automatically starts off lower anyways. If everybody in America became a millionaire tomorrow, the prices of things would go up to $1 million. I'm sorry, but that's the way corporations are going to work. They're going to want every penny, every penny. So unless all those things and people go away, then we got no.
Did some digging this morning and found this record. And this is a UCC financing statement with the United States of America Department of Defense. Look who's the debtor. The Federal Reserve System. That's who prints the money. And it's in a trust, $14 trillion. Who is a jurisdiction organization of the United States of America, but lowercase, right? The lower USA. We know what that is. That's not even a kicker. This is the kicker. Miscellaneous, in brackets, with this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. But look what they included in their lien. As all real men with hands and legs and all real land in the United States of America, $14 trillion, with trust in God, this real estate is with the public. So it's all the people with hands and legs. They put a lien on your body. Go get.
Yeah. They put a lien on your body. You know.
Did some dig.
Yeah. All right. I used to be a far left extremist. Now I'm voting for Donald Trump. Let's see. Here we go.
I used to be a far left extremist, and now I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. First thing that started to make me want to leave the left was I watched a Trump press conference, and I watched it thoroughly. And then the next day, I remember watching my usual news, CNN and similar news outlets, and seeing them spin, twist, and take things out of context. And as somebody that watched the press conference, I knew that he didn't say those things. I've always been pretty anti-establishment and wanted to vote for people that would represent the everyday working person. And I was fooled, like a lot of people, into thinking that that was the Democrat Party. Upon doing more research, I found out that the richest people in the world, like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, all of those gigantic people, all donate to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party wants you to think that they are anti-establishment and they're for the little people. the real party that's against government interference and anti-establishment, anti-corporation, a lot of people are not going to like this. It's Republicans. When I was super far left, I made a small critique of Joe Biden and everybody attacked me. Like everybody. I was for Joe Biden at the time, but because I had made a small critique, I had people that didn't want to be my friend anymore because I didn't agree with 100% of what Joe Biden was doing. And they jumped down your throat for every little thing and then run around promoting tolerance, but they're intolerant to everything that they disagree with. I started to notice that a lot of my far left friends and far left people in general want everybody around them to walk on eggshells. So what I mean by that is they kind of make themselves minorities and they're not. Between the crazy pronouns and all of those types of things, they want people to be uncomfortable around them. They want that attention so badly that oftentimes they're abusive to the people around them. In general, the Democratic Party tends to promote anything goes behavior, which to me is straight up demonic. They say you don't have to be a human being, you can be a cat. A grown man, if he's wearing red lipstick and doesn't otherwise present as a woman, is allowed in the bathroom with like little girls. Democratic Party pushes you can do anything you want and everybody else needs to conform to that, and that's not good for society. We as humans need structure. So saying that you can make up genders, that you can identify as an animal, you can identify as a different race, you can identify as all of these other things, and everybody around you is going to accept that and conform to that regardless of how it affects them. No, the left is very racist. They love to call everybody but the left racist. They think that minorities are incapable, that they're dumb, that they need white saviors. They think that Black people can't understand normal concepts. Like they give them absolutely zero credit. They think they need to speak in Ebonics. There needs to be hip hop or trap rap involved, and that there needs to be like twerking. Like that to me is incredibly racist. Their media channels are very obviously programming them to think certain things and act certain ways, and they can't like see through that. There's zero discernment insight. When Kamala was vice president, even the left hated her. I remember seeing this on CNN. They said she had the worst ratings as a VP in history. But as soon as CNN changed their tune, the entire left is like ready to do a song and a dance to get this woman elected. And she wasn't even voted in. Like, how does any of this happen and everybody's okay with it and defending it when nobody liked her prior? When Trump was in office, I had been working a government job for a few years at that point. When Biden took office, within the first 6 months, he had made it a rule that if you did not get the vaccination, which was done on site at my job, you couldn't work there anymore. So I got the first vaccination on site. A few weeks later, got my second one. The very next day, Biden made budget cuts and we were all laid off. We were forced to get the vaccine and then immediately laid off as soon as we did. Figure that one out. Democrats don't even know what they stand on and consistently change their viewpoints based on what's going to benefit them. For instance, at one of the prior presidential debates, Kamala attacked Joe Biden for being racist and then ran under him. So that's an issue that you care about, but it's fine as long as...
Yep. Makes you wonder. Yeah. All right. Okay, hang on here. How is this even possible? Okay. So you see what's in the window, right? Glitch in the Matrix?
Okay, where is this car that's reflecting on this Boston Pizza window? It's a Corvette C8. I seriously don't see that car anywhere. Where's that car? What? Where is that car? Hello, where's that car? Where is this car? Okay, where is this?
Oh boy, the Matrix. Yep. Um, um, Washington's Ghost says, but I was reliably informed that this type of thing doesn't happen.
Idiot. He's trying to choke himself. Help. You all right? Billy, you all right? Dispatch, we're stopped on Willett Road. Let's go, yeah. Watch out.
He's unconscious. They just tase him. Yeah. That's not a cop. That's a criminal. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, therefore I am says shocking video shows Chicago streets overrun by illegal immigrants begging just a week before the DNC where Harris will make an appearance. Wow, they're getting $14,000 to feed their kids and everything else, but they're out on the streets begging. They get all this money. Yeah, but they're out on the streets begging. Yeah. All right. Man caught his wife cheating right before their wedding, but instead of canceling it, he did this. Okay, this is going to be the last one of the day.
Everyone, thank you for coming on this wonderful occasion, on this wedding day, to my groomsmen. Thank you for always being there for me. And baby, I love you. I truly love you. There's one thing I want to talk to you about, but I couldn't figure out the words to express it. So I figured the best way to bring that to you would be to show you.
Oh my God! What the? Oh, hell no! Oh!
Yeah, I don't think that wedding's going forward. I don't know about you. Yeah. All right, 3 hours, 20 minutes into this. I want to thank everybody for joining me here this afternoon. I'll be back again tomorrow. Remember, our creator, God, the creator of heaven and earth, he loves you. His son, Jesus Christ, he loves you. And I love you. We'll see you then. Peace.
you.